Hello, everyone. Welcome to a day that's important. How are you doing? Let me start this out by saying, hey, did you vote yet? If you didn't vote yet, if you're legally eligible and live in the United States as a citizen of the United States, what are you doing? Go vote if you haven't already. Turn this stream off and go vote. If you have not voted and you are legally eligible to do so, you are not allowed to watch this stream. Turn it off immediately and go vote right now. That's my PSA. Jesus Christ.
There's nothing funny about the two.
We're in the hype train already. My goodness. Hold on. Let me go back and get some stuff that I missed. Wing the Ultimate Nug, thank you for 100 bits, who says, I'm excited. Are you excited? It's election day. How are you? I'm as good as I can be under the circumstances. Keith Furt 488, thank you for subscribing with a 2-month streak. Can we please just wake up in a month? I wish.
There's nothing funny about
Cherry Tree Boy, thank you for subscribing. 3-month streak. Says, hi Hannah, it's been 3 months subbing to you, and while it's a stressful time, I hope you have an overall good day. Thank you. I hope the same of all of you. Old enough to know more better. Thank you for gifting a sub.
That's right.
Appreciate it. Tucker White 94 with 100 bits. I already voted. Also, I'm still the bits leader. Mother effers. Good job. Antipodian Squid. Hannah, you are so loved and valued, and I wish I could hug the crap out of you today if you need it. Thank you. I'm just, I'm stressed out because this election is pretty, I think ContraPoints does a good thing on this. It goes, as a trans woman, yeah, as a trans person, pretty worried about someone who doesn't like trans people and whose policies hurt trans people. It's going to continue to be in office for 4 years, depending on the results. So I'm pretty stressed out, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Bumble Homestead with 100 bits. Internal screaming vote. Yes. I agree with the entirety of that. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism. I've heard that somewhere. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Hannah. Map Guy is at it again and now is making the case about Callie flipping red. Oh god. Okay, we'll take a look at that. Cascadia 93. I'm less than okay. I'm so scared. I'm so effing scared. Same. It's okay. We'll get through this together, and hopefully we'll have something to celebrate later. Misunderstand with 100 bit. Vote, goddammit. Jeffrey Patron with 690 bits. Thank you very much. Arenas 3 with 250 bits. Good vibes from the UK. It's lockdown 2 here soon. So I'm going shopping for affirming clothing while I can and other stuff. I hope it all goes. Goes Joe. Yes, hope so. And then the Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits. My mother said Kamala Harris was a socialist this morning, and I started cackling at her. That's pretty much the appropriate response. 79% of the level 2 hype train. So let's take a look at this map, I suppose, while we're doing the hype train. This is the same guy that did the other map yesterday that was it was also ridiculous, but it was slightly less ridiculous, at least in the sense that at least California wasn't red. But now they've made a map where California, in fact, has turned red. So let's read their justification for California going Republican. Thief of Hearts with a bunch of bits. Mimsy Moon just reacted to Shoe on Head's reaction video. Perhaps she'll also react to yours. People are certainly noticing her now since you and Jake covered her. That's the thing. We end up platforming people, even if it's to criticize them, and then it gets them views. Don't know how I feel about it. Nick Snort with 100 bits, thank you very much. And then Sushi Mom with 200 bits, just because I want to tell you you're cute, your hair is fabulous, kind, and wonderful. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. 97% of the level 2 hype train. So let's see what the justification is for this map. In my A scenario, published on October 31st, that's the one we looked at the other day, I was hesitant about Trump winning also California for one specific reason. In 2016, Trump was 29%. below the witch in California, the witch being Hillary Clinton. Trump 32%, Hillary Clinton 61.6%. A 29% gap is huge, that it is, which is why California is considered one of the bluest of blue states. Abby, my dudes with 100 bits. My parents both voted for Trump, and me and my 2 siblings voted for Biden. It's nice to know we canceled them out. Yeah. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Before we watch some chuds, let's get a cleanser for yesterday and learn how to throw a party. I'll keep it on standby. I don't know if we'll get to it, but if not, I'll put it in my thing for public domania. Misunderstand with 20 bits. Thank you. So, he goes on to say, but things have changed on Saturday and Sunday. What changed? Is it possible for California to flips red? Watch the Trump parade in Beverly Hills last Saturday. Conservatives are the stupidest people on the planet, guys. Literally, they are unable to like, they look at a crowd of people in Beverly Hills, one of the wealthiest communities in California, and they see a bunch of people out for Trump, and they're like, I better extrapolate this out to the entire state, even though there are a very specific set of contextual factors that lead to this in this specific area. I better extrapolate this out to the entirety of the state for no reason. Mitchell Drummer, thank you for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Legitimately, conservatives they have a problem mentally, a similar problem to, I think, flat earth people, in that they have a problem with thinking abstractly and extrapolating things out logically within the limits that we have of our own perception. Like, this person literally, it's like when Sargon says, like, well, a lot of people have Trump signs, therefore Trump has to win. And it's like, okay, but like, it's not like every single person who votes puts a sign out of who they're going to vote. There are a number of factors that go into that. Also, it's going to depend upon the area in which you live. It's very strange. I don't know if anyone's done a study on, like, more progressive people versus conservative people and their ability to, like, extrapolate information out from things like this and understanding the limits of our own perception, but I feel like conservatives would be very, very bad at it. Cascadia 93 with 20 bits. One positive of the past week, however, is that it seems that if I save up enough for moving costs and I land a job that I already have experience in, there's a very good possibility of me being able to move back to my home city of Seattle and out of this stress-inducing area known as Kansas City, where the Fred Phelps people clash with neo-libs. Well, I hope that all works out for you. I hope you can find a job that allows you to live in a place you're more comfortable. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I knew you'd have that reaction. I giggled through my classes over it today. And then Antipodian Squid with 100 bits. A right-wing former politician here said in an interview today, said, Trump is a demagogue. He will lose and he deserves to lose. And when questioned on his political position, said, in America, I would be considered a moderate Republican. You gotta... How do I... Don't take for granted that Trump will definitely lose, because it's not necessarily the case. We'll see what happens. I hope he loses. So we see again more of this Beverly Hills rally. You know, one of the richest communities in the state. Anonymous Gifter, thank you for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. I appreciate that. Got through another level of the hype train. Level 3 complete. Nice. These Beverly Hills videos are impressive, and the joy, enthusiasm, the atmosphere, beautiful, and it happened in Beverly Hills. Yeah, why does he say it happened in Beverly Hills like he thinks Beverly Hills doesn't, like, normally go, or wouldn't have a large population of Republican voters? Beverly Hills is full of rich people who want to lower their taxes and are insulated from social problems because of their wealth, are more likely to vote Republican. What is he talking about? Cascadia 93, Beverly Hills, one of the richest counties on the planet. Yeah, that's probably a better way of contextualizing it. It's not even just in the States. 74 Quinn 74, Hype Train, we're here for you. We're at 9% of level 4. Trump boat parade in California. Ooh, is this the one where a bunch of the boats sank? That's pretty funny. And again, like, it bothers me that people like this guy look at this. And this is like, you know, for this sort of thing, a decent number of people. I'm not going to count all the boats, but, you know, there's dozens of boats here. I'm sure there are more off camera. But they're unable to be like, okay, well, how many people live in California? Population of California. The population of California is almost 40 million people. And you're looking at a picture of you know, dozens of people, dozens of Trump supporters who own boats. That's indicative that there is some level of Trump support in California. But to say, look at these boats, and then to say, that means Trump is going to win, is such a leap in logic. There's absolutely nothing connecting one to the other in terms of extrapolating out to the state as a whole. It's ridiculous. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. As someone who voted for Joe Biden, what's all the people who told us he was the more electable candidate versus Bernie Sanders going to do when Biden inevitably whores out to corporate America and not a goddamn thing changes? Look, guys, I've talked about this before. Biden's not my first choice, but Biden's milquetoast center Democrat corporatist ideology is less destructive than Trump's. I talked about this yesterday. If you're in a battle and you need to take the battlefield, you don't just say, everyone take the battlefield. You got to make strategic decisions. Sometimes you take a hill, and then from that point, you can better strategize to take more position over time. Biden is not, you know, 100% win for actual, like, leftists. Of course he's not. But it is a point from which we can strategize and continue to try and make change in the United States political landscape in the future. If Trump is elected, yet again, we'll have 4 more years of destruction to our electoral processes, to the governmental structures themselves that we need to use to improve the lives of other people. Like, Biden's not perfect, but if you're looking for a perfect candidate, you're not going to find one. And don't come here and be like, Bernie Sanders, perfect. No, he's not. Bernie Sanders isn't perfect. I like Bernie Sanders. I voted for Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders is not on the ballot today. That's not the choice you have. So today you make a choice, and then from there we try and move forward from the more advantageous position than we would be if Trump wins. Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits. We're at 16% of level 5. Nice. Stellar Sea Cow, I live in one of the richest areas in the country and went to school with my congressman's kids, and I have only seen one Trump sign, and that was a cop, so he's not, you know, a decent person. Bye, Manser. I appreciate the antidote, Stellar Sea Cow, but again, looking at signs and stuff is, I think, a bad indication of where things are going to go. Bye, Manser. Thank you for your Tier 3 subscription. Nice. Subscribe for 6 months. I got to get some special Tier 2 and Tier 3 emotes. I haven't even filled all my level 1 emote slots yet, honestly.
There's nothing funny about
Goth Geek Gaming with 20 bits. Hannah, did you see tweet from Trump where a video of him dancing is put to YMCA? It's really cringe. Yes, I saw that. Stellar Sea Cow, the fight doesn't end when Biden wins. We keep pushing the DNC further left, and we can't let off of them, period. We push the party further left and keep pushing it further left. Yes. Like the next, if Biden wins, hopefully he will. We have no idea. It's only 4 p.m. here. The polls don't close, at least here in Michigan, until I think 8 o'clock. Maybe it's 7. Look it up if you need to know. Just Google it. Either way, yeah, the next 4 years of Chud Watch are not going to be, you know, nothing happening. We're not going to just be like, well, Biden's president, everything's fine, because it won't be. But it'll be a typical political fight and not an existential fight, you know, for the heart and soul of the democracy of the United States of America. It'll be trying to push political and economic policies that benefit the working class, but it'll be within a framework that is acceptable. Does that make sense? I don't know. Cascadian 93, Bernie isn't perfect. He's been super iffy on Israel and Palestine issues. Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. And I think I'm caught up. Color Kitten 722, thanks for following. Comrade Devin with 20 bits, my state senator, and I'm hoping the vote out My state senator that I'm hoping to vote out just tweeted the most hideous shoes I've ever seen. This is what happens when you reject relevant experts. Oh no, look at those shoes. Oh, those are ugly. Okay. Cascadian 93, tell that Biden is president, but the fight isn't over to some of the blue check marks on Twitter. We'll work on it, guys. Guys. If Biden wins, we're just getting started. Don't worry about it. But it's a better position to fight from than Trump as president. 30 seconds left on the hype train. 21%.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Sorry, gotta open my window. It's getting a little stuffy. MMO addicted, so I am pretty invested in your election, as in Poland. I'm pretty sure there won't be another election unless someone calls our shit out, and Trump would likely back an authoritarian far-right Christian Poland, so yeah, he probably would. Daddy Sume with 20 bits, can't stay, I'm too stressed to deal with chuds today. I just want to say I love everyone and that you're beautiful, Hannah. Thank you, Daddy Sume. I hope you can come back tomorrow for Tinfoil Tuesday on a Wednesday, and hopefully it'll be fine. Hopefully it'll all be good. Have a good night. Antipodian Squid with 140 bits. Thank you. Coolio. Cool. Moving on, let's see. Trump parade in Huntington Beach. Again, he's going to like specific events that are Trump-centric events.
Funny about the tools of capitalism.
Trump rally and boat parade in San Diego. Impressive Trump rallies all across California, Los Angeles, San Diego, the North, everywhere. Is it possible California turns red? Is it possible Trump wins also California? No.
Capitalism.
Doubt. Very much doubt that. I missed a bits message. We can go back. Where was it? Tucker White says, I'm looking forward to the right-wing conspiracy nuts crafting new BS. They've gotten lazy during Trump's presidency. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. Antipodian Squid, Tinfoil Tuesday, Wednesday edition. That's literally, I think, what I was going to call the video tomorrow. Vulpus Redtail, thank you for subscribing, Tier 1. And MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Fun fact, he already did back it. Last election, a month or so before our election, they accelerated putting us in the visa waiver program, and the ambassador did a huge publicity for the ruling party, which, in my honest opinion, won them another election. Gross. Mitchell Drummer with 235 bits. Boss time. Did I miss Daddy Sume's bits too? God damn. Daddy Sume, I'll be back for Tinfoil Tuesday and for Sovereign Citizen whatever days, but chuds just make me too upset lately. Understandable. Hopefully after the election, if Biden wins, you'll be a little more amenable to watching some chuds, but I get it. Mitchell Drummer, thanks for the 20 bits. Greg Rubini continues in California, 2016, Trump 32, Hillary 61. That's a 28% gap. Can California flip red with Trump 28% below in 2016? Let's examine Miami-Dade County in California. Thank you, MMO Addicted. Who's that Pokemon? And then it's a link. It's Texas's 2nd congressional district. Yeah, gerrymandering's messed up. It's very messed up. This means that Trump flips around to Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade, Trump is 1.2% above Joe Biden. Where's he getting this information from, though? Like, how does he have information on who... He did this yesterday. What information is he getting that's saying that Trump has raised 30-something% above Joe Biden? Or 30% he's gained since the last election. Where's he getting this information from? No citation. Makes it questionable. Guardian Den, thank you for following. Tucker White 94, me atop my bits throne. Mwahahaha, I have everything. And Antipodian Squid has nothing. Remember, the California result was similar to the results of Miami-Dade County in 2016. In California, the Trump gain will be bigger. I bet Trump can gain 34% overall in 2016 results in California. Jesus Christ. Why Trump can gain 34% in California, 29%, as he gains in Miami-Dade, plus an additional 5%, because in California, you are all pissed off by the Nazi lockdowns of Gavin Newsom. Oh, God. Wow. Okay, so this is a lot to unpack. He continues. His despotic edicts, his burqa masks, the destruction of business. So he has mask mandates, comparing it to the Nazis, and then he calls face masks burqa masks. So a nice hefty load of Islamophobia on top of it. Lovely. It's Guardian Eden, but yay. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Guardian Eden. Apologies. Thank you for following. Bardlock Moses with 200 bits. Not going to sit through some chuds today, so here are some bits. Thank you. Tucker White 94. Nazi, drink, bastards, drink. The Democrat virus backfired on the Democrats.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Greg, it's not the Democrat virus, it's the coronavirus. It's a global pandemic. I don't know if you know this, but there are other countries on Earth other than America. In fact, most other countries aren't America. Wise Californians know that if Joe Biden wins, Kamala will become president of the USA. I mean, I doubt it, but it's possible. He's an old dude. Kamala Harris will destroy California, its economy, its resources. With Newsom, Californians had a bitter taste of it. Scotty Dent, thank you for following. Therefore, wise Californians are voting Trump in droves. Californians want to make California great again, and President Trump will do exactly that. Wise Californians know it. There are reasons why California can turn red. These are the reasons why that 29% gap can be reversed. My forecast for California: Trump 53, Biden 47. Wow, that's a lot. What hold on.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
That is one big pile of shit.
That's pretty much where I stand on those numbers. These are the reasons why California can turn red. These are the reasons it can be reversed, but it's even better than that. Let's recall the results Ronald Reagan had in California in 84, Reagan 57, Mondale 41. Thus, it would not be the first time California votes red. It would be the first time in almost 40 years. That would be a pretty big thing. And I also think back in the day, California was more of a purple state, right? I don't think California was consistently blue until the early to mid-90s. That changed. Greg Rubini, Ronald Reagan in California 84, Reagan 57, Mondale 41. My forecast for California in 2020, Trump 53, Biden 47. He thinks that the map will be similar to Reagan's map. Jesus friggin' Christ. And we have this. Interesting, isn't it? Let's say liberals. In utter desperation in California, notice encourage. This person says, I'm working at the polls in California. Trump supporters are voting like crazy. Everyone must encourage friends and family, like-minded, to get out and vote. It is scary. And then we have Tucker White 94, 20 bits. A 30-point turnaround for Trump against Joe Biden, a Democrat who doesn't have nearly as much baggage as Hillary Clinton. Yeah, that's crazy. Pretty crazy.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Stellar Sea Cow, Reagan was also the governor of California, so that would help him winning California. Yeah. This is just the same parade. The Trump rally in Malibu. This is just more people. Again, looking at a bunch of people who came out for a specific event is not data. Like, I guess it's theoretically data in the sense that, like, oh, look at this. Anything you can present, I guess, is, kind of data. But it's not data that you can numerically track, right? You're not going to look at this video that's basically an anecdote of these rallies and do anything substantive with it because you can't really numerate what's going on there. Aren't these Trump parades clear messages? Not necessarily. I mean, I think we all recognize that Trump's base, and I'm not even just talking about all people who vote Trump. I'm talking about the kind of people who wear the MAGA hats and go out to, like, boat parades and crazy stuff like that. They're a minority, but they do exist, and they're very, very loud about their support for Donald Trump. So if you have events like that, you're going to get a loud crowd that's going to do stuff like that. I'm not surprised in the least. He says, I say a 34% gain is possible. I disagree. Go California, landslide for Trump. We're rooting for you all across the USA. Therefore, my updated forecast for 2020 looks like this. Trump with 461 electoral votes and Biden with 77. Jesus Christ. Again, it's only 440 here where I am. The polls aren't closed yet. I am not under the delusion that Joe Biden has this in the bag. If you watch this in a couple days and Trump won, that's something that could absolutely happen, okay? I'm not, like, deluding myself. But this map, this is crazy. This is an insane person's idea of what an electoral map looks like. This is nuts. Thank you, Fatal for following, a Colston of 20 bits. We even got TJ to vote, but nope, not Paul's ego. I haven't heard from TJ in a long time, so I don't really care. Windchanter with 20 bits. Hi, Hannah. Hi, chat. Hello. Stellar Sea Cow. Reagan was also... Oh, read that one. Oh, I said ope unironically. That's a shame. In-depth forecast state by state can be found in this thread, and that's the thread that I talked about the other day. Yesterday, actually, I think. That 2020 elections forecast thread got 11 million views impressions in 2 days. Yeah, that's because people like me retweeted it and made fun of it because it was absurd. That would be why. Anyway, that's this guy's bizarre prediction. It's interesting to look at. So I went to vote today. Went relatively quick for me. I was in and out in like 10 minutes or so, around there. Very strange, and I tweeted about this, strange energy in the room. And I've voted, I think, in every single election since I've been of age to vote. Excuse me. I don't like my parents. I don't talk to them for a variety of reasons. But, like, I will say one positive that they instilled in me is the importance of voting. So, like, when and I recommend this if you have kids, when you go and vote, maybe take them with you, show them the process, explain it to them, because I think that's a barrier for some people, is if they've never voted before or never seen it go down, it can be intimidating. So, like, taking your kids with you to vote and showing them the process of how it works, and you just go up and you show your license and you get your ballot and you fill out a little thing and you go and fill out the form and then you go take it to the people and they scan it into the thing or whatever. I think that helps kids. So, take your kids to go vote with you if you can. I don't know if there's any rules anywhere that doesn't allow that, but at least in Michigan, my parents took me when they went to vote. So even though they're right-wing crazy people now, I mean, I say now, my dad's always been like that, but he's gotten more extreme, I think, since Trump became a thing. Yeah, definitely take your kids to vote. It's a good idea. Anyway, so I went to go vote today. Weird energy in the room. I think everyone's stressed out. Everyone's stressed out. And there was a guy who was like, I don't know how it works in other people's states or counties, but basically you deal with people, you show them your driver's license, they have you fill out a little slip with your address, you then take that over to the ballot people, they put that in your ballot envelope, you go and you fill out your ballot with whoever you're voting for, and then you take that to a person who, like, basically checks it off, and then you put it in the machine. At that last step where
there's nothing funny about
everyone's trying to get me to look at this, hold on. Don Jr. thinks the Black Sea is a country and also that foreign countries vote in American elections, which explains a lot. Oh my. He's, wow, yikerinos. I mean, I'm sure he's just making a joke like, haha, the only countries that vote blue are China and Mexico. But that's very stupid. Did I miss anything else? Tita Bell, 20 bits. Your dad is obviously a Trump supporter, but do you know whether or not he actually expects Trump to win? I haven't talked to him in years, so I don't know. MMO addicted. Where was that? MO addicted with 20 bits. Hey, Hannah, last of my bits since I'm broke at the moment. Cash flow issues. Would you please tell me when to expect first exit polls and stuff, as in X hours? I want to grab a nap and then watch the data flow in, but time zones are confusing me due to the tiredness. Polls in Michigan here close in, I think, 3 hours or so. But even then, I don't know how accurate exit polls are going to be this year because there was so much early voting and mail-in voting, and exit polls are done in person, so it's not going to give a clear picture. So I don't know if you want to look at exit polls as accurate this election cycle. Where was I? Oh, I was talking about... So I was going to go and take my ballot, completed ballot, to the final person that you give it to. And there was an elderly... I say elderly. He wasn't like 90 or 80 or 70 even. He was like in his 50s or 60s. White dude. The person who was taking the ballots happened to be a Latino gentleman. And this white old guy was just yelling at this kid. He was, you know, saying a bunch of... Just, I only caught the end of the conversation where the worker was like, "Sir, please don't raise your voice to me," as calm as they possibly could. And the guy goes like, I never raise my voice. Whatever. I'm just trying to voice my concerns." And he and his wife walked out angrily, and I'm very curious what that was about. I wish I could have seen more of the interaction. I'm assuming that guy was a Trump supporter. I have no concrete evidence, but feels like it to me. And facts do care about my feelings. Fun fact. That's my superpower. Antipodian squid with 20 bits. My chocolate has melted from the ambient temperature in the room, and it's not even 9 a.m. How sad. You gotta stick that stuff in the fridge. Candy is always better after it's been in the fridge. Okay? Kit Kats. Reese's. Not M&M's, because they can get hard and it hurts. There are a lot of candies where if you put them in the fridge, they're pretty good. So, fridge candy. You gotta do it.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Captain Rose with 20 bits. Apologies for my ignorance. Where does Chud as a term for conservative reactionaries come from? Because I think of cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. I think it does come from that movie. I guess I always assumed the like etymology of the statement or of the word comes from the idea that reactionary right-wing people tend to be angry, loner, basement-dwelling dudes. Cannibalistic, underground, humanoid,
There's nothing funny
whatever.
about the tools
You
of
know.
capitalism.
Cascadian 93 with 20 bits. Crunch bars cold. I actually don't know if I haven't had a Crunch bar in a really long time. I do like the Nestle chocolate, though. Better than the Hershey chocolate. Anyway, so that's enough of a preamble. We've been going for 40 minutes. I haven't even gotten to a video yet. So, yesterday we did a lot of the regulars on Chud Watch just to see where they were coming from, you know, right before the election, to see what their final thoughts were before the results come in, before the voting even. A lot of these come from yesterday. But, yeah, today I just want to continue. We only got to some of them. We got to John Doyle and some other people, but today I wanted to cover Sargon, maybe some Tim Pool, this dude, Ben Shapiro. Just cover these videos and see where they're at. I'm not going to stick around, by the way, for, like, the actual vote counting. I'm not going to deal with that on stream. I can't deal with it on stream. Plenty of other people are going to do that, and we'll probably raid someone who does. But you know what? I did an election night thing in 2016. I'm good. I don't need to do it this election. Maybe next election. Frozen peanut butter cups are the best. I agree. They're quite good. Okay, so first, on our final roundup of our typical chuds and what they have to say prior to the election today, Sargon of Chud, Carl Benjamin, failed UKIP candidate, milkshake connoisseur, fan of powdered drugs. Carl Benjamin has a video. He did a live stream yesterday on pre-election predictions. We're not going to watch this whole video because it's like an hour long, but I'm going to go ahead and watch some of this. We'll see where he's at mentally. This picture of Donald Trump is scary as shit, by the way. mad fascist vibes. Like, if you want to show Kylo Ren is a fascist, you have him on stage with a bunch of Empire flags and one big one behind him, and he's center, and he's doing, like, a power thing. I think that's why Carl picked the picture. But anyway, let's see where this is at. Is Jake doing his own stream or only the thing with Jimmy? I am not sure. I actually got invited to do the thing with Jimmy. I opted not to, specifically because not dealing with election results in that way. I'm not doing it live on camera. That's going to be stressful for me. Potato Wraiths, thanks for following. Does he know he's live?
30 quid on me being like 30 minutes late. I expect it in super chats. How's it going, chat? F for Trump in the chat. Oh no, that's tragic, isn't it? That's tragic. How could it already be over for Trump, the incumbent president, who seems to have done a fairly good job by my estimation? As
This is the crux of so much of this conversation in this country and elsewhere. How do we deal with governing a country democratically when we live in alternate realities where all of us here, for instance, look at the things Trump has done and go, oh God, every day it's just a new disaster. And then there are people like Sargon who are like, oh, a bunch of kids, 500 kids who are never going to get to see their parents again? Fantastic. Oh, we're going to take away healthcare from a bunch of people? Oh, yes. More tax cuts for the rich? Yes, daddy. Like, what do you do in a situation where you're fighting against people like this, who just have their heads buried, I'll say in the sand to be polite, but I think it's buried somewhere else. It's just absurd. Mermanda with 150 bits. The Cognitive Dissonance guys are streaming tonight if people are looking for another stream option. Cool. Slow X Mox Panda with 20 bits. LOL, my message was up there. Slow X Mox Panda. Let me go see if you were... Slow X Mox Panda says, I was at Ace and this guy had his phone so loud. I heard his dad clearly screaming about how their whole house smelled like weed. I think because their neighbor grows it. Okay.
As an outsider looking in, yes, I know I'm live. Hello, everyone. Hello, chat. Love to see you. I don't know why, but I'm feeling pretty good about things. Like, I've got a terrible track record of predictions, by the way, for any elections at all.
Especially the one you were a candidate in.
But then, in my defense, so does everyone else. Like, point to the person who has a good track record of predictions these days. We're living in strange times, and everyone's hot takes age badly these days. So it's kind of fun, really, to be
A1 Golden Runner.
Suddenly
thanks for following.
Alleviated of the burden of having to actually be right about that, because everyone else has been alleviated. Like, it's lifted off their shoulders. Just, actually, they're all fucking wrong. None of them know. They've been so consistently wrong about everything. And the hopes and prayers of Hillary supporters everywhere had been dashed. The hopes and prayers of the people who are forced to vote for Joe Biden, I think I'll put it. Like, is there such a thing as a Joe Biden supporter? Or
yeah. I'd more consider myself on the side of, like, I just think Joe Biden... How do I put this? I think Joe Biden is a competent politician. I'll put it that way. And I think he provides a platform that is more stable to argue my positions from than under a Trump presidency. But there are definitely Joe Biden supporters, for sure. A lot of them are older people, but older people tend to be the people who vote anyway. So yes, there are Joe Biden supporters.
Or is it
if that's not a rhetorical question, but it feels like it was.
Who I guess Biden's family have compromat on, who may well have also visited Little St. James and have to get out and do the dirty work for him. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what it is? But But anyway, yes. So, everyone, my prediction is as follows. I mean, like, you look at the polls and you notice that today Biden is 8.3 up in the polls. And I've just got to say, I mean, for me, that just automatically means Trump landslide.
Why, though? Again, like, 2016 polling was off, but it wasn't off by that much in terms of state polling, especially at the end there. Things really got to tighten. Like, the idea that 2016 polling was an absolute disaster, it had problems, but it wasn't as bad as people said. A lot of it was in the margin of error. People just weren't taking that into account. Like, Biden is up by more in the polls than Hillary ever was, and this is after them adjusting their polling for what happened in 2016. They were undercounting, or undersampling, rather, non-college educated white people in 2016, and they've corrected for that in 2020, at least most of them have. Again, polling isn't perfect. I'm not saying it's impossible. A lot of swing states are within the margin of error. It's entirely possible Trump will win. But the idea of this, like, Trump super landslide that some of these people have is just so bizarre. I do not know where they're getting this. Trump may win. Trump may win. That's an unfortunate reality that's going to happen in any Democratic election where there are two options. One of them is going to win. It could be either one. It's going to depend upon who shows up to vote. But, like, in the statistical models that people whose job it is to do these things, people like Nate Silver over at 538, if Trump wins, it'll be a situation like 2016 where he probably loses the popular vote, and on top of that, only wins by like 70,000 votes spread across, you know, however many swing states. Like, Trump may win. Trump may win. It's scary, but it's true. But if he does, it will not be a landslide. Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits. Why is Greenland on that electoral map? I honestly do not know. Probably because it's a joke map. It's probably just there as a joke. Did I miss something? The map has Greenland on it? Yes, it does. It's a meme map. It's okay to put silly things like that on a meme map. Was there anything else I missed? I don't think so.
State, including those states that are not actually states like Greenland, will indeed vote for Trump. It's going to be a complete wash for Trump. It's going to be the victory that Jeb Bush could only have dreamed of. He's going to flip everything red. So you can take that to the bank. That's a serious prediction of how I think things will go.
Didn't Trump want to conquer Greenland? He wanted to purchase Greenland, I think. He didn't want to conquer it with, like, the military. He wanted to buy it.
But what's interesting is everyone on Twitter is getting their little, oh, here's what my prediction map. Here's my prediction map. And it's like, okay. Like, if we're all going to get our little prediction maps. But seriously, though, I do think that Trump is going to win by a greater margin than last time.
Why? Why would you think that? Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. The only all-red map I could find had Greenland, so I'll make a joke about it, I guess. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have cut it out. All he'd have to do was crop the image. It wouldn't have even been difficult. I'm sure he did that on purpose. There were a lot of factors in 2016 that led to Trump winning. A major one was that a lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton. A lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton for a number of reasons, some of them legitimate, some of them not. Joe Biden doesn't have the same sort of yoke around his neck that Hillary Clinton has, that yoke being 20-something years of constant coverage from places like Fox News about how she's like a demon woman. Joe Biden, while he's not popular amongst younger people and lefties like ourselves, doesn't mean that the general population, and bear in mind, a lot of the general population are centrists who just want to grill. They like Joe Biden. They do. Or at the very least, they don't hate him like they hated Hillary. So in this election, when it's between Donald Trump, who we now have a voting record for, or not a voting record, but, you know, a record of his, let's say, accomplishments, or lack thereof, over the last 4 years, which wasn't something that was in hand in 2016. 2016, these people could have said to themselves, oh, well, I don't know, we don't have any idea how, let's give them a shot and see how it works. And now here we are, 4 years later. It's not good. So I think that'll affect some independent voters and stuff, who will swing towards Biden because Biden is, to most people, an inoffensive, middle-of-the-road centrist. I don't agree, like, that he's a good candidate, but I understand the idea that he's a safe candidate as compared to Trump. Corona virus deaths in U.S. I'm curious what they're at now. 232,000 USA. That's also affecting, I would think, a certain amount of independents and older voters, the whole coronavirus debacle. Dude spanking dudes with 20 bits. I bet money that Reps anti-SJW Sargon Extra is going to have a verbal meltdown. The right likes to say that only the left will cry and act out if Trump wins. I bet that the right are hypocrites and will act out. We'll see. I hope not. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Twist, both Joe Biden and Donald get 0 electoral votes. All 538 go to Jeb Bush. He can still win this. Slow X Mox Panda with 50 bits. I already pay to Nazi ads on YouTube. What's it take to not waste watch time on full commercials here? I think subscriptions. Do subscriptions get rid of ads, guys? If they do, then that's the thing. You subscribe to channels, and I think you don't get ads anymore. Oh, God, my under-boob sweat is just killing me today. I'm going to get, like, a stain right here. Okay. Can just call you Panda. That's easier. Thank you. Captain Seculoid, thank you for gifting a sub. Oh, to Panda. Nice. Well, there you go. Your ad problem is solved.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
And I hope that, I'm not saying he will, but it would be very good if he won the popular vote. It would be extremely good from the perspective of let's stop communism, to have Joe Biden.
Why? Why do these people look at Joe Malarkey Corn Pop Biden and go, that guy's a communist, that dirty commie, that dirty pro-corporation capitalist commie? I hate him. Like, which is it, guys? What is he? Empty the tanks with 20 bits in Australia. We recently had a short run of 0 new COVID cases and 0 deaths. That's pretty rad. Rakison Dragon, thank you for following. Malarxism. Yes. Yes, please.
Destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And I just want to be clear. I think Joe Biden is a terrible candidate. I'm really surprised that he's the guy that the Democratic Party settled on in the end. I do think they would have done better with almost anyone else. Because, like, Biden, I don't know whether it's just me, but he really comes across as being very unlikable.
Look, Joe Biden's many things, and I don't agree with, like, some of his record, and I wish he was further left, but I don't think Biden's unlikable as a person. If we're talking strictly about, like, candidate charisma, I don't think Biden comes off as unlikable. I think he comes off like an old man, and not like a mean old man. He comes off like an old man who's kind of out of touch, but nonetheless, he seems like an old man who's legitimately trying to do his best. And again, this isn't going into policy. We're talking about likability here, and that's a completely separate metric. I think Joe Biden is completely likable as a politician. Captain Seculoid with 95 bits. As an anarcho-Bidenist, I am offended by Sargon's suggestion that my lord is a dirty commie. For those who still doubt, here's a list of companies who give money to Joe Biden. Yes, we know that political candidates get money from tons of people. It would be nice to get them out, I understand. That's something we can fight for with Joe Biden as the president, okay? We'll be in a better place to do so than with Trump as president.
That's the thing, right? I don't really personally hate any of the American politicians because they don't rule over me. They don't make decisions governing my life, at least not directly. And so I don't, I get to watch it as if it's a movie, right? And so I get to choose the characters I like.
Anyone who talks about politics like this is an idiot, and you shouldn't listen to them. It's not a game. It's not a movie. These are people's lives. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. His approach to his son was very good and earned him a ton of brownie points to me. It seemed legitimate, yeah.
And Joe Biden, to me, comes across as just being very unlikable. He's very abrasive. And he
Did Sargon just call Biden abrasive while advocating for Donald J. Trump? Again, the separate realities thing strikes again.
feels like he's someone who has been a member of the upper class for a long time.
Again, but Donald Trump, who's much richer than Biden has ever been, somehow isn't that. What? Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Joe Biden is that grandpa that tells you tales of his episode in the jungles of Nam, but forgets that kids are all staring at their phones the whole time. And MMO Addicted. If Biden is abrasive, Trump is a living cheese grater.
Because he has. And he seems like the very last tail end of a kind of politician that I think we can call the sort of 20th century politician, the plastic corporate politician who in the sort of mid to late 20th century became the fad. People expected just a shiny face who would say politically correct things and be polite under all circumstances.
Wanting politicians to be competent and polite is not a vestige of the mid to late 20th century, Sargon. That's a thing that you just want in politicians in general. Like, again, everything else being equal or separate, if you're talking about politicians that are going to be interacting with not only citizens of the country that they have power over, but also especially someone like the president, who's a big part of international relations, you want someone who's like someone you can get along with, someone that's like amenable to having agreements and conversations with other people in a polite, respectful way. These are benefits to the president, not negatives. Guardian Den with 50 bits. So was there a conclusion to the whole Hunter Biden thing? I've been kind of out of the loop about that. Not really. They really kept trying to hammer it, but no one was buying that shit except for people who are already like huge Tucker Carlson fans. So it didn't end up gaining traction in the mainstream.
No longer was Winston Churchill calling his opponents' wives ugly and things like this. You know, no, the harsh language disappeared as mass media made every statement something that could be heard a million times over. And now I think with Trump, we're getting to the kind of politics where it's like, you know what? Don't even care. Cry more, loser, I guess, if you don't like.
That's not good, Sargon. Any politician behaving that way is childish and backward, and it's a bad way to run a state in the 21st century when international relations are more important than they've ever been. The world is getting smaller day by day. You cannot have a president who's like, haha, suck it, libs. Haha, countries I don't like, you can suck my dong. Like, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Also, my window's open. I just realized I just yelled suck my dong with my windows open. My point is, having a politician who is charismatic, or at the very least, not someone who tries to trigger other people around them constantly with their abrasive, mean, bullying attitude is not a negative. Someone being unlike Donald Trump is a positive in terms of being a statesman.
Like it, you know, because there's no charity given on either side. And I think Joe Biden is the last of those people. And I think that Biden is a fundamentally dishonest.
Have I seen English Parliament? I've seen clips, yeah. But that's, again, I even feel like if we're talking about, like, Congress people in the United States, a certain level of realness in the sense that they're not going to be as, let's say, political, and when I say political, I mean pragmatic, right? If you have a congressperson who in Congress to other Congress people are like, hey, no, your position's wrong, sit down, F you. I kind of wish things would be a little more cordial than that, but I understand. That's fine. The president or like the secretary of state, anyone that's going to be dealing with foreign dignitaries, that can't fly. Because you're not dealing with people in your own country that you can disagree with and have an argument about. Here's how I would explain it. Politicians within their own country, I would compare more to siblings. You can get a little more mean, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're all part of the same country. You can kind of understand that and argue issues in a heated way. But when we're talking about, like, international politics, the president, the secretary of state, people who are going to go talk to other foreign dignitaries, that's not a sibling relationship. That's like some other kid down the street that you need to deal with, right? Like, you might be really mean to your brother and wrestle them or something and pick on them, but you don't necessarily want to do that to the same extent to the kid down the street that you're trying to get along with. You know what I mean?
Honest person. He's got a long career's worth of dishonesty. We'll talk about Trump in a bit, but Joe Biden, in my opinion, has a long career of being a fucking liar, an outright fucking liar.
Again, well advocating for Donald Trump. This is what Sargon says. Mind-boggling.
And the kind of liar who will lie so brazenly to your face and demand that you agree it's the truth, or they'll get angry with you, which is actually not that usual for people. If you start just brazenly lying to someone, they will eventually get angry. But a reasonable person will be like, just, why are you doing this?
Yes, Sargon. Which is why so many people are fed up with Donald Trump. Do you understand?
But Biden just leaps straight to that anger, and that, for me, I find that very... I mean, maybe it's just because he gets people accusing him of being a liar a lot or something. But the most recent campaign, like his campaign, if you can even call it that, some of the clips, like when the guy in the factory confronts him and says, look, you're going to take away people's Second Amendment rights. And he's like, you're a liar. I never said that. And he's getting really hostile with the guy. And yet today, Biden tweeted out how he's going to enact gun control.
Enacting gun control measures is not taking away people's Second Amendment rights. That's incredibly disingenuous, Sargon. People have a Second Amendment right to bear arms. What those arms are, and again, isn't specified. It's in order to maintain a, quote, well-regulated militia. Well-regulated being an important word in that sentence. In this country, we already have laws involving what kinds of weapons and accessories for your weapons you can have. Moving the line of what is acceptable in terms of weapon ownership does not remove someone's Second Amendment right. It just doesn't. Like removing bump stocks. Remember, Donald Trump is the person who signed, banning bump stocks into law. Donald Trump! That doesn't mean he took away people's Second Amendment rights. It means they redefined what is considered reasonable in terms of a well-regulated militia. That's completely within the powers of the government. Okay? This has been covered to death. Guardian Den, thank you with 50 bits. Do you think that most Trump supporters actually support him, or do you think at this point they just do? They just don't want to admit they're wrong. Also, you can just call me Eden if it's easier. Sure. I think most of them think they're right. I think people, the kind of people, at least in my experience, this is completely anecdotal, so take that as it is. My dad, for instance, again, who I haven't talked to in quite a while, but I know the kind of person he is, and I remember our conversations in 2016 about this and prior about Donald Trump. The kind of people who are hardcore Trump supporters tend to be narcissists, tend to be people with very little self-reflective abilities. They don't look at themselves and say, am I wrong about this thing? Ever. It's just not something that crosses their mind. Once they make a decision or form an opinion on something, that's their opinion. And even if it's wrong, they're going to defend it because they feel like admitting that they did something wrong or admitting that the opinion they formed was misinformed. They feel that it's a weakness to admit that, even though it's not. It's a strength as a human being to be able to own up to your mistakes or own up to your shortcomings and your ability to form opinions on things. That's reasonable. But a lot of people, like my dad, are not that kind of person. They're the kind of people who just, nope, made my decision, and if evidence comes out that shows that I'm wrong, well, I'm just going to fight against it even harder, because that would be admitting I was wrong, and that makes me weak, even though it doesn't. Panda with 25 bits, as opposed to Trump's nonstop D-sucking, ego-stroking rallies for literally 5 straight years. Yeah.
Which obviously is going to be a synonym or a metaphor for...
Was the last time I talked to him when he showed up during that live stream once? Yeah, I think so.
Him just like semi-automatic weapons, which is almost everything. Yeah, almost every modern gun is a semi-automatic gun. So it's like, right, okay, shut up, you gun grabber. Like, where's my mag at? You know, like, I don't have guns, but damn, do I support your right to be able to own them? You know, fuck the government.
Panda with 50 bits, my dad was visiting from VA and had a speaker call with his brother about getting as many new guns as they can before Biden makes it all impossible. They're so stupid.
Unironically, as we're about to go into a second lockdown. The thing about Biden is that he lies about everything. About
one of the first things Donald Trump did as president was he lied about his inauguration size. Guys, Donald Trump lies constantly.
The kind of man he wants to be, and he's always projected this, as far as I can tell. Going back to, what was the British politician? It was right on the tip of my tongue. Chat, you can save me on this in about 30 seconds, but until then I'm going to move on. He was stealing it wasn't Tony Benn, was it? I think it was Tony Benn's speeches. Tony Benn, being a British Labour politician that Joe Biden obviously wanted to emulate, stole his speech almost word for word.
The example of this, by the way, that he's bringing up, this happened in the 90s? The late 90s, I think this happened. So the latest example of a Joe Biden lie that he can give is a speech that happened over 20 years ago, and also the same thing happened to Melania. I agree that at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. Like, if you're hiring someone to write a speech for you, then it's your due diligence to make sure that they're not plagiarizing something. Completely understand that, and that is on Biden, just as it was on Melania, when Melania had a speechwriter write her a speech, and it was just like a complete rip of Michelle Obama's speech. But if your example of Biden lying is him failing to do due diligence on a person who wrote him a speech, that's incredibly weak relative to the lies that I could point out that Donald Trump has said. That kind of shows your hand and your inability to point to a systematic lying problem from Joe Biden. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. These people think Joe Biden, a Democrat further right than Barack Obama, an already center right guy, will take the guns. It's dumb. Yes, it is dumb. It's very, very stupid.
I'm making up a new backstory for himself because that's what the speech demanded and things like that. It's just not true. And, you know, he claims that he was the highest in his class or something like that. And in fact, he was one of the lowest. And you get this continual picture built up of Joe Biden as a totally mediocre man, but someone who is just willing to lie.
Lifetime senator. How mediocre. You know, we all have that loser cousin who's been in the Senate for decades. Why can't they get their shit together?
Lie convincingly. Most people have tells when they lie, but Joe Biden just lies like he's telling the truth. And they're such brazen lies. They're such, they're not exaggerations like Trump.
Oh, Sargon.
There's nothing funny
Your reality distortion field is showing. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Show me one person who's never embellished some aspect of their life, and I'll show you a liar.
These are just outright, I don't know, it just feels malevolent. You know, I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like this guy is taking me for a fucking ride. And then when you see, of course, you know, the Hunter Biden revelations, who the big guy is taking 10% for, and then all of these other connections to Chinese spy chiefs and all of this stuff. There's huge, just a trove of stuff that's come out. The media refuses to touch because
it's not evidenced, Sargon. The reason that even Fox effing News, after the first day, stopped covering this because of the lack of information, and they would have gotten rightfully sued for slander had they run this story and continued to run it. There is no backing evidence about any of this Hunter Biden BS, and I am so sick and tired of it. I'm glad that we're gonna stop hearing about this shit after today. My God. Tinker Taylor, 84 with 20 bits. I think Carl's just confused about which candidate is which. Yeah, that must be it. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I actually have an uncle like that. He's in ruling Law and Justice Party and has been since its forming. He's not invited to family functions. I can't even recall his name. And then Cascadia 93. You guys had this guy on your show. You have interacted with this man. You made money off a video together. Oh, yeah. It's super gross. It's super duper gross. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Hell, all that Hunter Biden stuff was, well, stuff we already knew about the man. Yeah. The big revelations from the Hunter Biden thing was he's a drug addict, which we've known about. It got brought up in the debate. Someone being a drug addict is not a ding on their character. It's a health issue. And also that maybe he indulged in some solicitation of sex workers, let's say, which I also don't find to be some sort of moral wrongdoing.
There's nothing funny about the
so I don't really care about that shit. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I mean, only benefit of him is that when they started putting the gays in concentration camps, he might give me a pass to run out of the country. God, my sense of humor is bleak. Jesus Christ, it is. No kidding. Jesus.
My God,
it'd
be demolishing for anyone's career. But the thing that I find most interesting
you'd
is
bet your
what
house on Reagan doing
show.
speed in the 50s, and then Captain Seculoid, the laptop is the new butter emails. Yeah, it's just more emails. They really tried the same thing twice in a row. Didn't work. Pretty luckily.
To Biden as a person is, I'm more disgusted at Joe Biden's incapable. Just inability to be a father. Now, I might be being harsh.
Inability to be a father. Did you know if your kid tragically succumbs to drug addiction that you were a failure as a parent and there are absolutely no other factors that go into that? Jesus, Sargon.
Harsh here, right? I might be being harsh because they have suffered.
Is it your parents' fault that you destroyed a political party, Sargon? Just trying to track what is and is not a parent's responsibility.
Some severe family trauma through.
Windchanter with 20 bits. Did you see where the church is now trying to walk back the Pope's commentary on civil unions? I'm sure they are. Like it's the Catholic Church, guys. They're not your friends.
Loss of a brother and his mum, I think it was. So I might be, you know, speaking from a position of distinct privilege in this regard.
No, you don't say.
But man, if like my son was some incestuous crack addict,
they're still going with the incest thing, huh? Cool.
Then I would be doing something about it. Like, I would feel like I had failed as a father.
There's nothing funny about the tools
But then,
of
I suppose,
capitalism.
if I was world-renowned for being a giant liar,
Dude spanking dudes with 20 bits. I love when my parents say it's okay, it will affect other people, but we're the ones who are financially stable. Like, I guess F everyone else. Also that Trump can't take away trans Medicare. Even if those you are... Oh, God. Sorry, the stream keeps moving, so it's hard to read. Trump can't take away trans Medicare, even if he does, you are okay. You're under our insurance. Like, yeah, F poor people. The inability of some people to care about others is disgusting. It is such a problem. Cascadia 93. Is it your parents' fault that you single-handedly ruined JonTron's credibility, Carl? That's a shame, too. I used to really like JonTron videos. He's a funny guy. It's too bad he fell down the alt-right talking points hole.
I feel like I'd failed as a politician. But then he got elected. He gets elected repeatedly. He's been in office for 47 years or something stupid like that. And now he's running for the presidency. What do I know? Don't listen to me on any of this, folks. But anyway, right, so it comes Trump. And Trump, I think Steve Bannon really did sum Trump up best with the signal and the noise. There is a clear signal that's going through everything that Trump has been saying.
Wait, is Carl citing indicted conspirator Steve Bannon? That's a good call.
And a strong message has been coming out that was something that Trump was ridiculed for initially, but he had really hit upon what I think is a zeitgeist that has
There's nothing
been
funny about the tools of
permeating
capitalism.
the Western world for quite some time. There's a spectre haunting not just Europe, but the West.
He's gonna say it's communism, but the actual thing is income inequality being caused by late-stage capitalism, but he's gonna say it's communism. Get ready. I think he's gonna say it's communism. He's gonna say the specter of communism has reared its ugly head again. Panda with 50 bits. No, I'm literally the only one in my entire family with empathy. Explains why I have way too much of it. Yeah, you must have just gotten it all. Captain Seculoid with 95 bits. At least JonTron did a racism after he got replaced by our sweet, innocent boy, Dan Avedon. I don't know who that is.
The spectre of patriotism.
He means nationalism. He means nationalism.
On everyone's lips. It's being discussed in every coffee house and inn and tavern. It's one of those things that the powers that be do not wish to acknowledge. Trump actually, again, his campaign has been fantastic, by the way. He's been absolutely smashing it in his campaign. Like, he looks great. The whole thing looks brilliant, and
he looks great. That's a weird slip. I don't know.
The crowds have been phenomenal. It looks like he is a rock star on tour. It does.
Yeah, he's got a huge cult of personality. That's part of his problem. Tinker Tailor 84 with 20 bits. He just misquoted the Communist Manifesto. He's going to socialist hell for that. Tucker White 94, citation needed, Carl. Citation effing needed.
Does not look like Joe Biden is even... I mean, who is his opposition? Like, if the polls didn't tell me, if these didn't exist, and you...
But they do exist, Carl. They do exist.
Saw Joe Biden's campaign, which I didn't even think to get something up of, but Trump tweeted out a video of him arriving like by helicopter to this massive rally, and Joe Biden walking down these steps into a socially distanced...
Yes, again, the rally difference thing is so bizarre to me, because, for one thing, 99% of people who vote don't go to a single political rally ever. It's not indicative of the general voting population. And secondly, the Trump campaign isn't taking coronavirus seriously at all. It's why Trump got coronavirus. It's why tons of White House staffers have gotten it. And it's why tons of people at these rallies are causing super spreader events by going to these things. Whereas Joe Biden's campaign is doing minimal rallies that are socially distanced with masks with minimal people. Like, all you're doing by pointing this out is showcasing the irresponsibility of Trump as the president and showing candidate Biden as being responsible in the face of a public health crisis. It doesn't make Trump look good. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Translation: if this contradictory information didn't exist, then my worldview, as sturdy as a Jenga tower, would hold up. Yeah.
Garden.
If only this statistical data didn't exist, my conservative worldview could be founded in my anecdotes. Dang statisticians.
Party with like 12 people.
We're almost done with this video, by the way. We've been going on about him for a while.
In it, and if I should find that, because it was so good. The difference was just night and day, and it really showed you who. And I did in fact see the other day as well. See donations, donation graphs, like, the wealthiest and the poorest, and Trump had much more support from regular folk, and it shows, doesn't it? This is what we see. It's like this is a guy. You can say what you like about Trump, but at least he is someone who is in touch with the regular American.
No, he's not. What is wrong with these people that they think this multi-billionaire who's been rich every single day of his life, literally, not a single moment of his existence from conception, has involved any sort of struggle for financial solvency, ever. He was born rich, he will die rich. This is not a man who understands the problems of anyone but himself. He just isn't. He just riles up a bunch of uneducated white people by screaming about, oh, the immigrants are gonna steal your gerbs, like it's 2004 and we're in an episode of fucking South Park. Like, Donald Trump knows how to speak to dumb people because he himself is very dumb. That's the key to his success. He's an angry, racist idiot with no filter, and unfortunately, there's a huge piece of the population in the United States who views these things not as detriments, but as something to look up to and aspire to. It's disgusting. Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom of the problem, and that problem is a lack of education and empathy within the citizens of the United States. It's a huge problem. And I don't know what we're going to do. Even if Joe Biden wins today, he might not. Those people are still going to be here. And someday they might get behind someone who isn't as stupid as Donald Trump. Someone who's just as fashy. Someone who's able to draw crowds and get support, but someone who knows what they're doing. And that's going to be a scarier day than any of the days we've had in the last 4 years.
Which is something I really don't think you can say for Joe Biden. I'm just looking for this video because it was...
Tucker White 94, pro tip class, anecdotal evidence is not, and I repeat, not actual evidence. You can use anecdotal evidence as what it is. It's an anecdote. It doesn't make it statistical evidence. Oh, read that one. Cool.
It was iconic. It was a great video. And so Trump does talk a lot of shit, obviously. I don't want to, have people going, oh, see, he'll never say that Trump, Trump says things that are wrong or inaccurate a lot. But I don't think that Trump is lying. I don't think that Trump is genuinely lying, as in he knows that the truth is something else and is just prepared to try and bullshit me through it. I think that Trump is as guilty, if not more guilty, of the effect that we all have, which is sort of remembering things to our own advantage.
Trump isn't lying to me because he lies to himself first. So if he lies to himself about something and then says that to me, it's no longer lying.
But Trump, obviously, this is exacerbated, and he. But the fundamental, what he's saying, there is a kernel of truth to it, right? He'll say, I can't think of a good example, but he'll say something, and it will be in some way true. He'll have just, got the details wrong or widened the scope of it or something like this, where the evidence...
Tucker White 94, but Hannah, it's not a lie if you believe it. Well, I don't believe that that's the case. So, how does that work? Antipodian's good with 20 bits. It's easier to empower people than disempower them. Trump has made people feel empowered to spread and incite hatred. It's going to be much harder to push that back down once he's gone. Taking away Trump as the figurehead is the first step to solving one of many issues. Yeah. Jeffrey Patron, he'll say something shocking.
This doesn't necessarily represent exactly that position. However, if you just narrowed the scope of what he was saying, then the New York Times would have to say, yes, this is true.
Guys, don't you think it's very, very reasonable to editorialize every single thing the president says because he's too stupid to say what he means and mean what he says? Wait a minute, I thought Trump supporters liked Trump because he says it like it is. Now he's exaggerating? Now he's making stuff up? And it needs to be editorialized? Those seem like conflicting statements. Weird. Alright, we're done with Sargon. We basically know where he sits. He thinks Trump's going to win in a landslide. That's what he thinks. I think that's foolish. Not that Trump can't win, but the idea that he'll win in a landslide. Not really any evidence for it as of right now. Moving on.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Let's learn how to throw a party now. I don't want to do that right now. I know I got it pulled up somewhere. Right there. I don't want to do a cleanse just yet. We got hours left, guys. We got hours left. Live analysis. Let's see what's going on in the 538 live. updates. What the 2020 electoral map would look like if there's a 2016 sized polling error.
Election day is upon us, and undoubtedly there's a lot of anxiety about whether or not the polls will be correct. That's understandable. Americans care a lot about who wins this election. Also, in 2016, we saw a larger than average polling error in some upper Midwestern states. Although, nationally, we saw just about an average polling error. Now, no one can tell you whether or not there's going to be a polling error this year, how big it will be, and which direction it might go in. But for academic purposes, let's just imagine that there's a similar polling error to what we saw in 2016. So for this, I'm going to use our handy interactive right here. Right now, this is a hypothetical map, and it shows Biden and Trump winning in every state where they're currently leading. Now, we should not expect that to be the actual result on election day because, of course, as we know, polling error happens. So again, this is a hypothetical. And by the way, disregard the odds here. They're irrelevant because we've told the interactive the hypothetical outcome of every race. Now, if there was a 2016 style error, this is what we would see change. Iowa would go from Biden's column over to Trump's column. We would also see that Maine's 2nd district would go from Biden's column over to Trump's column. And we would also see that North Carolina would go from Biden's column over to Trump's column. Now, that is still an election that Joe Biden would win, but it gets pretty close in 3 key states. That means that Trump is within a half a point to a point of Joe Biden. So if there were an even bigger polling error than there was in 2016, and it favored, in the end, President Trump, we could even see Florida change to go into Trump's column, Georgia also change to go into the president's column, and finally, Pennsylvania. Now, this would be a bigger polling error than we saw in 2016. But even in that scenario, Joe Biden would actually still win the election. Now, it would be razor thin. He would win 270 electors, which is the bare minimum of electors you would need to win the Electoral College. So that's a really close election. It's also a very hypothetical one in which the polls are off by even more than they were in 2016. But remember, we don't know the degree to which there will be polling error in this election. And we don't know which way it will go either. Just remember, Joe Biden is behind President Trump by only about a point in Texas. So now imagine this. Let's give the states that were originally in Biden's column back to Biden. Now we're back to where we started. Again, a hypothetical world in which every state where Joe Biden and Donald Trump are currently leading, they end up winning on election day. But imagine this. So in Texas, the president is only leading by about a point. And the same goes for Ohio. All of a sudden, if we give Texas to Biden and Ohio to Biden too, that's an overwhelming victory, and that's not very much of a polling error in those states. So the lesson is, yes, there could be a 2016 style polling error, and Biden would still win that election. There could be an even bigger polling error than there was in 2016, and then Biden might not win that election. But if the polling error is in the opposite direction, he could also win in a landslide. We're going to be making more videos like this and talking to a lot of my colleagues here at 538 throughout election day and election night. So make sure to subscribe to 538 on YouTube and check in with us.
Interesting stuff. Let me see what the more recent stuff has to say. Most states improved their wait times between 2012 and 2016, with no state averaging more than 20 minutes. The large increase in early voting this year may reduce voting waits even further. Amelia says, I mean, mostly, Chad. I think it's a testament to the really hard work of the election administrators across the country, combined with the lower traffic that a lot of polling stations are seeing because of the massive surge in early voting. A couple of lawsuits that have stood out to me today in Pennsylvania and Nevada in particular are the kinds of fights that I think we could see more of in the post-election litigation as the campaigns and parties start fighting over which ballots are counted. So things could definitely get messy in the coming days, but while it's still election day, I think it's okay to pause and appreciate the tremendous amount of work that they've made today. So uneventful. Chadwick Matlin says, Amelia, what does the relative calm in election administration tell you about so many of the fears leading into today? Misplaced, or are we far from out of the woods on mail-in ballots being counted? I'm reading these backwards, but you get it. Basically, election wait times have been lower today, which is good. Trump complained it was rigged after he won. Guys, can you imagine what Trump's going to do if he loses tonight? He's going to lose his mind. Who can we do next? Let's do a little bit of Tim Pool. Okay. So Tim Pool, does he have a newer video, or is this one the most recent one? Let me take a look. Okay. We'll do this one. So this is a video in which he did entitled Wisdom of the Crowd Predicts Trump Landslide. Farage says polls are lying to suppress Trump vote. So let's see what insightful things Tim Pool has to say.
In 2016, Nate Silver of 538 got it wrong. And I'm not talking about the general election. He gave Donald Trump, I believe, a 27% chance of winning. And then when Donald Trump won, he said, I gave him slightly better than 1 in 4. I wasn't wrong. The polls were off. My forecast was correct, and Trump won.
Nate Silver being the guy behind 538, the website we were looking at prior to this video, pretty accurate in terms of a forecast. Like, in 2016, they were one of the closer people in that they were basically saying up until the election, hey, guys, don't assume Trump can't win. He's still got a decent chance. It's going to be narrow, but he can do it. And then, lo and behold, in 2016, Trump loses the popular vote, but he wins the Electoral College by something like 70,000 votes spread across multiple swing states. So the 538 average is my go-to specifically because it tends to be pretty accurate, and it doesn't seem to try and push any narrative, right? They're just trying to report the data as best as they can.
Having a 27% chance of winning means very often you actually win. Right now, 538 is giving Donald Trump a 10% chance of winning. The only problem, as I said, he was wrong. But what was he wrong about? Michigan. He said with
The polling in Michigan was very bad in 2016, that's for sure. Well, I'm interested to see what's going to happen this year. I really, really hope Michigan doesn't go red. I'll be so disappointed in my home state. But it's possible. The polling was all over the place, and honestly, in 2016 for Michigan. Do you guys remember Hillary Clinton was polling ahead of Bernie Sanders in the lead up to the 2016 election in the primary? And Biden ended up winning Michigan, or not Biden, I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders ended up winning Michigan by like 20 points, just killing the polling. So I don't know what's going on with Michigan and the inaccurate polling, but it'll be interesting to see if they've corrected models and ways of contacting people for polls this election to see if they're closer. I'm not very familiar with polling in 2018 and what the margin of error was on that, but Winds Chanter, thank you for the 201 bits.
Absolute certainty that Hillary Clinton would defeat Bernie Sanders in Michigan. He couldn't call that race. The polls were a disaster. And right now, the polls are saying Joe Biden is going to win, but for some reason, the wisdom of the crowd suggests Donald Trump will actually win.
The wisdom of the crowd works for certain things. If you don't know about wisdom of the crowd, the idea is basically that if let's say you have one of those contests where you have a jar full of jelly beans, some unknown number, and you say, okay, guess how many jelly beans are in the jar. One person's guess is going to be off, but if you get 100 people, get 1,000 people to all guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, and then you average all of their guesses, then theoretically, the number that will be given as the average will be closer than most of the individual guesses. If you average out people's guesses, you tend to get a somewhat accurate result because some people are going to underguess, some people are going to overguess, and you can come to sort of a... But this only works in things like, look at these jelly beans in this jar, right? People are not good at... People aren't even good at guessing jelly beans, much less looking at the people around them in their own social bubbles and looking at, like Sargon did in the earlier video, looking at, like, political signs in people's yards and then trying to extrapolate from that, you know, who's going to win an election. It's a terrible, terrible way of trying to determine who's going to win an election. I don't even know why someone would do this outside of trying to make a BS poll, not even really a poll, to make some BS thing that says, like, the wisdom of the crowd says Trump will win. That's not how you determine polling for elections. It's just not how you do it. Tucker White 94. Translation, the polls say this, but my feels say a Trump win. Yeah. Who was Lupine? This is my first stream with Hannah. It was the kitty. The kitty who was up here a second ago, but I think she just jumped and went away. She's had enough politics. I understand, Lupine. DJ Fusion 11, thank you for following. Welcome to the stream.
The wisdom of the crowd is when you ask everyone what they think will be or what is, and then you kind of get a distributed model or distributed answer. One person probably doesn't have all the answers. That's why communism doesn't work.
What? I'm drawing a blank on how that's connected. That just feels like a complete non sequitur to me, but we don't have time to go into that today.
But a large group of people will give you a sort of...
Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Well, then I'm out. You can be replaced, Hannah, but there's only one Lupine. Understandable.
Who wants to be a millionaire? Ask the audience distribution. The way it works is, if you ask one person who's going to win, they might say, Joe Biden. You say, okay, should I trust him? Should I trust Nate? So
you shouldn't trust any individual person who is using their personal experience to inform who's going to win a national election based on the Electoral College, because that's going to be a state-by-state thing, and someone's local experience within their own city or whatever is not going to be indicative of the state as a whole, much less the trends in the country as a whole. So no, that wouldn't work. That's why we have statisticians whose entire job is to figure out how to create models and polling that give an accurate picture of what's going on. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Well, oh, read that one. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. You liar. No one can replace Hannah. You guys have not seen my clone. It's over there. It's in a vat. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Please give me some words to calm down. I'm drawing a blank. Empty the tanks with 20 bits. Lupine says trans rights.
She does say trans rights. She loves her mama and her mommy.
Fox News poll on government-run healthcare plans, 72% in favor, 29% oppose. Wow.
I am Baja Blast. I am Hannah's girlfriend.
Captain Rose, the 20 bits. Sorry for the aside, as a fellow trans gal who suffered with a lot of shit while trying to date. Your relationship with Baja is adorable and goals. Thank you. Tiger White 94. How do we know you're not the clone, Hannah? I don't wear an eye patch. The clone has an eye patch. Their eyes are fine. They just really like how it looks.
And I'm not dating the clone, so I wouldn't be here.
Plus, clone Baja has a goatee. So if we ever see Baja with a goatee, you'll know it's the clone.
Silver. But if you ask 100 people, you might get 60 people saying Joe Biden and 40 people saying Donald Trump. And then you might say, interesting. What makes them think this? You know, I would take 100 Nate Silvers at their word, but one guy who happens to be an expert, I'm not entirely convinced he's correct. Well,
okay, if Nate Silver was just some random dude who was just out of nowhere with absolutely no data points saying, here's who I think is going to win the election, I would agree with you, but that's not what Nate Silver and 538 are doing. They have a statistical model that they've built based on past elections, and their model in the past that they've updated that is using statistical analysis done by professional pollsters. This is not just pulling a number or a result out of their butts. It's statistical analysis. It's their entire job. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Aha, we have learned from the statement that Clone Hannah uses they-them pronouns, the lore deepens.
There's nothing funny about the tools of
Does the goatee mean Clone Baja is evil?
She is indeed.
Cool. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. My fears are not calmed, Hannah. I'm sorry. MMO addicted to 20 bits. So Clone Hannah stays with Baja and Clone Baja stays with Hannah. And when you reunite, it's a foursome. Well, science has solved long-distance relationships for now. Jesus Christ. Panda with 30 bits. Oh my god, my only ride to my mandatory doctor's appointment every month just basically shrugged and said, sucks to be you. Now I have 0 options left for my only pain control. Let me die already. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that person flaked on you. Hopefully you'll be able to find someone else who can give you a ride.
Well, USC Dornsif has been asking experimental questions, and I've covered this quite a bit. This is not the main bulk of what I want to talk to you about. They are asking people how they think their friends will...
USC Dornsif. USC Dorn. Just trying to figure out who UFC or USC Dornsif is. Ugh, got shivers down my spine. Is there a Wikipedia page on these people?
Hannah is ticklish literally everywhere, and it's so annoying.
USC Dornsif. Official Twitter account of USC Dornsif College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, the Academy Corps of the University of Southern California, in the heart of LA. Okay.
Vote and found.
Tucker White 94, unless these experimental questions relate to LSD and femboys, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I guess I don't get that one. Guardian.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Oh, Guardian Eden. I always forget.
Why
I
is
keep
that
forgetting. I don't
so
know.
hard for you?
I don't know. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. Sorry.
In the past 5 elections they've tracked, wisdom of the crowd is a better indicator than directly asking someone their intention. Which brings me to what I really want to show you. And it's betting odds. Now, I know betting odds aren't a guarantee. It's just what people think, but therein lies the point. If USC Dornsif is saying wisdom of the crowd is a better indicator, ladies and gentlemen, behold.
I'm just.
It's another one of these. Why?
I'm just playing with her hair because I love her hair.
Gee, oh, it's from DraftKings, too. Did DraftKings literally just do a poll that's like, who on the internet thinks is gonna win? And then, like, it got posted on 4chan. And a bunch of people were like, go and vote for Trump multiple times. DraftKings. Cascadia93, I hope that Mr. Pim Tool uses the similar logic when it comes to climate change and the scientific consensus. Empty the tanks with 20 bits Baja. I relate, my partner is so ticklish I can't even touch his leg without tickling him.
From DraftKings.
And yes, California is a red state in this ridiculous map as well.
Election pool. Only one state thinks Joe Biden will be president. In this tweet, they say with over 350,000 entries, a majority of people in every state besides Colorado predict Donald Trump.
Okay. So at first he was talking about USC, right? Which is an actual university. So I thought it was going to be a study done by them. But really he just used them to say, well, USC has done some wisdom of the crowd polling, and it's usually accurate. So let me show you DraftKings, who does fantasy football and football betting stuff. We had an online poll, which is definitely as statistically valid, and I'm sure the people who are in the polls are just as vetted as a USC poll. Decided that California is going to go red. Very science, Tim. Much statistics.
Will be the winner of tomorrow's election. Now, Predict It doesn't say the same thing. They think the odds are favoring Joe Biden. But why then is it that Predict It is giving better odds to Donald Trump than 538? And that's the important question I want to look at today. I think regular people are sick and tired of what's going on. You know, we're seeing people boarding up their cities, New York, D.C., all across America. Why? It's not Donald Trump they're worried about. If you've got regular people boarding up, it stands to reason they understand the real threats of the far left. I think regular people know Joe Biden is bad. I think there are a lot of blind people. And I think when it comes to betting, people would be, well, I'd say people think you're dumb to vote against Donald Trump.
Let's look at betting stuff right now. Biden's been ahead in the betting pools, but we can take a look. Cascadia 93, 350,000. That's not even a 30,000th of a percentage of the population. It's also an internet poll. Don't trust internet polls, people. They're not scientific polls. What was I going to search? Betting odds election. Here's from an hour ago. 2020 election odds predictions. Biden odds hold at 68.2 versus Trump with 1 hour until first polls close. So right now, Biden is at a 68.2% chance of winning, according to the betting odds, and Donald Trump is at 31%. So basically, Donald Trump has a 1 in 3 chance of winning, according to the betting odds. Weird that Tim Pool is acting as though the betting, the bookies, basically, that set the odds for stuff like this. No, they're not saying Trump's going to win. You're literally basing this off an internet poll done by DraftKings, which is ridiculous. Do I even need to explain why this is stupid? This is a medical, this is like a pharmaceutical grade cope. I'll put it like that. This is a prescription grade cope. Look at DraftKings. They did an internet poll that said every state but Colorado is going to turn red. This is reasonable, right?
I don't know who you should vote against. I don't know who's going to win. But let me tell you this. I believe the polls are wrong for the 800th time. Now, that doesn't mean Joe Biden's going to win or lose. It just means I think the polls are wrong. And guess what? So do all of these people who are making bets. Let's take a look at what's going on. Before we do,
why do you think that a sample of people making bets on the election is somehow more informed or more accurate than the general population as a whole? Because it seems to me the kind of people who are making wagers on an election are probably pretty invested in one candidate over the other in the case of this DraftKings thing. Probably Trump voters who think they can make a buck off of Trump's win because they're incredibly confident that he's going to win, despite the fact that the statistics aren't bearing that out based on the polling models we have currently. Is that a red New York? Yes, it is. That's a red New York City.
head over to timcast.com/donate. If you would like to support my work, there are many ways you can give. Got a P.O. box. You want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do, share this video. A lot of people may be relying on these polls.
Lucas Dawn, the polls will be in a margin of error, and Tim is still going to claim he was right, that the polls are wrong. That's what gets to me. Like I said, it's entirely possible Trump will win the election tonight. We don't know. We'll see. He won in 2016 with a very slim margin in the Electoral College of like 70,000 votes across however many swing states. It'll probably be within the margin of error, as it was in 2016. But Tim Pool will, because he put up this stupid, ridiculous map of every state, including New York and California, going red, he's going to be like, I was right, even though his map will be completely wrong. It's, there's a story about, to talk about the philosophy of being right and what it means to be right. This isn't a one-to-one because Tim's thing isn't as accurate, but a farmer goes out to try and see if, there's a farmer and his wife. The farmer says to the wife, hey, could you check and see if Bessie's out grazing in the field? She looks outside, looks for the cow, sees, she doesn't have very good eyesight. She sees, white with black splotches all over it out in the field. And she goes, yeah, Bessie's out there. The farmer, a little bit later, goes to check. And actually, what the wife was looking at was a sheet that's hung up to dry that just has a cow pattern on it. Interestingly, though, as he notices this, Bessie does, in fact, walk out from behind the sheet. Is the wife right? She was right in the sense that Bessie was there, but the reasons she was indicating that to be the case were entirely wrong. So if you're right by accident, philosophically, is that the same as being right based on evidence? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Winds Chanter with 29 bits. It is 2100, everybody. Mind their own business. It's 2100. Everybody minds their own business. People take drugs if they choose, and their safety and efficacy rates have never been higher. We have taken great strides in helping people with chemical dependence get more help than ever. STDs are at an all-time low due to legalized and regulated sex work. Humans are more productive than ever due to their high wages and great health care. This is a nice fantasy. I hope it's true. Someday. Winds Chanter with 30 bits. In this future, the last Trump supporter looks around and says, OMG, what a hellscape. Tired Park with 20 bits. I remember seeing polls featured on 538 showing that more respondents expect Trump to win than respondents who support Biden. People are just pessimistic. Yeah, I get that.
A lot of people...
We all have like 2016 PTSD.
may be confused to how Trump won last time. Well, let me explain some things to you and show you what's going on and give you some reasons why it is. The polls may, in fact, be wrong, and I'll show you what regular people...
Antiponian Squid with 150 bits. Boss time.
...actually think. If you think I do a good job and my videos are reasonable, reasonable, rational, and informative, please consider sharing them to help support my work. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's take a look at what's happening. In this image, as I've already shown you, the DraftKings election pool has all of their entries basically saying Trump's going to win in every state, except for Colorado. They say, haven't entered our election poll. It's absolutely free. People are being told.
Okay, again, so this is not a scientific poll. Literally anyone can click the link and do so. So what happened was this link got posted on 4chan or on wherever the people from the Donald went after it got banned from Reddit. I think they're on something called like the Donald.win. And they all went and they voted in this poll that anyone can do. It would be like if I put up a Twitter poll that said, who do you think's gonna win, Biden or Trump? And even if it got hundreds of thousands of votes, me pointing to that Twitter poll and being like, see? Look who won in this poll. Like, no, Tim, that's not how polling is supposed to work. You can't just have people opt in, because then you're going to have a bias towards people who would seek out or find the poll. You need to come up with models that make sure that the people who are participating in your poll are representative of the population you're trying to gain information of as a whole. Like if I'm trying to poll Michigan, my home state, for instance, I need to get people into the poll that are a random sampling that end up being representative of the Michigan population as a whole after weighting all the responses and stuff. If you're doing it nationally, you get a random smattering of people from all over the country. You can't just post a poll on the internet and say, hey, anyone want to answer this poll, and expect to have accurate results that are representative of the population of the United States or individual states for that matter. That's not how scientific polling works. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. How is this an argument by an actual human being? Bold of you to assume that Tim Pool is a human being.
To enter this pool, the election pool, through no cost of their own. And they're entering it saying, I think it's going to be Trump. Now, of course, Kyle Griffin of MSNBC says this is not how data works. And no one's suggesting this is hard data on what's going to happen.
You seem to be. You're spending a whole 30-minute video talking about it like it's helpful in any way. It's not even anecdotal. It's just a trash heap. Like, this information is so bad in terms of its, like, statistical non-relevance that you're actively misinforming people if you're saying that this is indicative of anything that's going to happen today. It's ridiculous. Catalina Gearbox with 50 bits. In this future, Indiana is swallowed by its own a-hole. Jesus.
It's just people going in saying it's going to be Trump.
Right,
but take a look at Predict It. Predict It is another betting market.
Darksider
and they say
615.
Donald Trump has about
Thanks
a
for following.
41% chance of winning. The way this works is you buy shares in an individual, and then once the race is over and the results are in, then it's about 64 cents to $1. So here's what happens. If you put 64 cents down on Joe Biden for one share, Joe Biden wins, you get $1 back. That means if you bet on Donald Trump, you're getting 60 cents for every 40 cents you put down. You're going to put in 41 cents. At least I think that's how it works. I don't really know. The point is, they're saying the odds are slightly better. Well, I'm sorry. The odds are significantly better for Donald Trump in the betting markets. Now, the thing about Predict It, and the reason I show this, is that Predict It actually costs you money, whereas DraftKings, they say, is free. The draft...
What are you is he completely misreading this? Because it's not. They're saying it's less likely that Donald Trump will win. The reason you win less if you put money on Joe Biden, he's completely misreading this. What a moron. Because you get less money from Joe Biden because he's the leader. So if you put money on Joe Biden, it's the safer bet, so you get less money back. If you put money on Trump, you will get more money back, specifically because he's the underdog and it's less likely that he will win. Does Tim Pool not understand how voting or how betting works? If you put money on someone who's less likely to win, then the payout is higher. Does he not understand that? Why is he talking about betting statistics if he doesn't even understand how the basics of gambling works?
Kings may just be Trump supporters going and spamming every single pool saying, I think it's going to be Trump.
Tucker White 94, seriously, polls that anyone can vote on are just asking to be effed with. Look at any poll that PragerU posts on Twitter. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Never trust internet polls. Never, ever. They can be used for entertainment purposes, like I've occasionally posted polls just to ask silly questions or whatever. It's fine. But, like, never post an internet poll and expect people to give you accurate information.
But I'm not entirely sure that actually making a bet is free. They say entering our election pool is free with 100K in prizes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a poll. We're gonna figure out some science, guys, okay?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Here's a new poll. This is scientific, folks. Oh, hold on. It's not letting me do it.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
How about now? There we go. Vote in the scientific poll, everyone. It's very, very accurate. Definitely vote in that. Tumek Von Raven with 300 bits. You were the first person I send money comment to. You always respond. If I send super chats on YouTube, no one responds. I thought your behavior was a standard. Nah, you're just a wholesome person. Oh, I try and get to it. It's going to be my downfall, though. If I ever get really popular, I'm not going to be able to get to every bit message, and it's going to be sad. But I'll try. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Include an I'm a troll option for really accurate results. Is cereal soup? Wow. These are not the results I was expecting. Science is weird. Is cereal soup? So far we have 55% saying yes, cereal is soup. Well, there we go. With 54% of the vote, cereal is soup. This is scientific, folks. Tim Pool has said so, okay? 35% said no and 12% said what? So, it's a landslide. That's a landslide for cereal soupers.
There's nothing funny about
Windchanter
the
with 20
tools of
bits. Cereal is
capitalism.
soup, but you have to pour the cereal before the milk. There's no other acceptable answer. I agree. If anyone's putting the milk in before the cereal, what is wrong with you? You should not be around children if you're putting the milk in before the cereal. The poll was rigged. True.
So it seems like there's no harm in just, going in there and betting.
The what option was a spoiler. You gotta have a third party. You gotta have a third party candidate to ruin it for someone.
Maybe. When it comes to how people really feel, like if you ask someone, hey, no pressure, no demands, no requirements, just who do you think is going to win? They say, Trump. But when it comes to actually putting money on it, a lot of people are like, I don't know, man. The media, they're saying Joe Biden. Well, let me show you what Nate Silver is saying. Over at Newsweek, what Nate Silver had to say about Trump's chances on election day, one day until election. And I will counter this with another story arguing that the media is manipulating people to suppress their vote. Newsweek says, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is favored to win the election this Tuesday, according to the latest forecast on Monday by 5:38.
Tube man, cereal is not soup, it's a stew. It has milk in it. Fair enough. Cascadian 93, what equals Nader 2000?
However, President Donald Trump still has about a 10% chance of winning the election, says American statistician Nate Silver, the website's founder. According to the latest forecast by 5:38, Biden has a 90% chance of winning the election. But remember, that doesn't mean there isn't still a path for Trump. Trump might be the underdog, and he needs a big polling error in his favor, but bigger polling errors have happened in the past. It's not
Windchanter with 20 bits. One great thing about having 4 dogs and a bathroom door that doesn't lock, I never poop alone. That's nice.
necessarily true either. There have been a few forecasters who have put out electoral college maps that say these maps show a Trump victory without the polls being wrong. Within the polls and the margin of error, there is a path for Trump.
Yeah. Yep. No one said there isn't. It's just more likely that it would have to be a polling error, because even in the cases where we are talking about the margin of error, it would be very, very close.
Quote, a 10% chance of winning, which is what our forecast gives Trump, is roughly the same as the odds that it's raining in downtown Los Angeles. And it does rain there. Downtown LA has about 36 rainy days per year, or about a 1 in 10 shot of a rainy day. Pennsylvania could make or break the election. Recent polls have shown Biden to be leading in Pennsylvania. However, it has been a narrow lead, Silver noted Sunday. According to our forecast, Pennsylvania is the most likely tipping point state.
MMO Addicted with 20-bit cereal is soup. Here in Poland in the 90s, 80s, we used to have dedicated milk bars, which were cheap eateries, and one of their breakfast staples were milk soups, basically noodles with milk and sugar, cocoa, or cinnamon if you were rich, bougie fuck and cooking at home, served warm for breakfast. That sounds gross. No offense. I'm sure they're good. It just sounds weird to me. Baja Blast says, my dad says that cereal can't be a soup because you can eat it alone without liquid, and he wants me to emphasize that dad has spoken. Has he never eaten croutons on his own? Or oyster crackers? I just want to point that out there. Those are also things that go in soup. You can eat chicken and potatoes on their own, but you put them in the thing and they're soup. That's my argument, okay? You can being able to remove ingredients from a soup does not mean it's not a soup when you put them together in that specific combination.
And a lot of Biden's chances in the Electoral College hinge on what happens in Pennsylvania. He leads Trump there by about 5 points in our polling average.
Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Tim Pool, quote, the media is skewing public opinion on the election to get people to vote for Biden. Also Tim Pool, quote, here, let me quote from the media on the topic.
There's nothing funny about the
Yeah,
tools of capitalism.
that seems to be a problem with fake news people. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Variations of it include bread on milk, replace noodles with bread. Rice on milk, replace noodles with rice. It is to this day popularly served at schools.
But it's not
Soup is cooked, cereal isn't. Gazpacho is a thing that's served cold.
as large a margin as Biden might like. The results of the latest Reuters Ipsos weekly poll published Sunday, conducted among 1,006 adults, 673 likely voters, in Pennsylvania from October 27 to November 1st, showed 51% would vote for Biden, while 54% would vote for Trump. The poll had a credibility interval of 4 points, which means well within the margin of error. We don't know what's going to happen. Everybody wants to tell you they do know what's going to happen, and I think that's just hubris. Now, I want to show you something funny about Predict It. When you come here, they say, here are the rules. Okay, here we go. Predict It may determine how to settle the market, blah, blah, blah. Their decisions. Okay, I'm not going to, the rules are meaningless. But let's scroll down to what I really wanted to show you. A comment that I thought was really funny. One user said, posted a screenshot of a poll. In general, do you think more of your neighbors are voting for Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Likely voters said
There's nothing funny
Biden,
about the tools of
39%,
capitalism.
Trump, 48%. There you go. Nobody wants to admit they're voting for Trump.
If you feel ashamed about who you're voting for, maybe reconsider who you're voting for. Just a quick thing to point out. Polish milk soup illustrated. Ugh. No thanks.
And Nate Silver is adamant. There is no secret Trump voter. Drop it. It's not real.
Because I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. Trump voters are loud. They're vocal. They're a vocal minority. They're very, very loud. Why would they hide it? And if you feel if you felt ashamed about voting for Donald Trump, you wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. It just doesn't make sense.
I disagree. Because I know them. Because I have friends in my life who are like, please don't tell anybody, I will be destroyed. I know celebrities and musicians and pop culture icons who said I would lose all of my endorsement deals.
What pop culture icons does Tim Pool know in his personal life that he's pulling this anecdote from?
If anyone found out. I was in Hollywood.
Baja Blast, my dad is disappointed in you. I don't think I've ever met a dad who wasn't disappointed in me. So
About 2 years ago, maybe. And I met a B-C list celebrity, TV show actor, moderately well known. And someone said, this guy's voting for Trump. He's like, come on, shh. They get me fired. No joke. That person wouldn't even tell his friends, like, shh, no one can know. We were in private. Trump's secret voter is real. At least that's what I think. Now, interestingly, there's, according to Real Clear Politics, Trump is not accelerating like he was in 2016. They say, in 2016, as we got closer to Election Day, Trump was improving. And then he sealed the deal. The polls were wrong, but he was improving. He says, that's not happening today. Well, I disagree. Take a look at this.
Devious Chillster with 20 bits. Source, trust me, bro.
Donald's not done yet. Trump narrows gap to 6.
This is a Daily Mail article. The reliable UK newspaper, the Daily Mail. Tumak von Raven with 400 bits. Just before Election Day, Trump promised Poland a loan to build a nuclear plant like the 7th EU economy had no credits as a country. Biden has promised to actually hold Poland to international scrutiny about respecting abortion rights and LGBT rights. That's good.
Points across 12 battleground states and raises prospect of a late upset despite being ahead by 10 points nationally. Well, Trump isn't ahead 10 points nationally. Biden is. They should probably phrase that better. But Trump is narrowing the gap. So he is accelerating. And at 6 points, that's arguably within the margin of error. I mean, Biden support could be low.
Not typically. It would be very, very close. Usually a margin of error is like 3, maybe 4%.
Or Trump support could be higher. But we'll see. If they're as wrong as they were right now in 2016, Trump would still lose. It may be that they're even more wrong than ever. I don't know. I don't know why I should trust the polls. I don't know why I should trust the media anymore. And therein lies the big point, the main point. If the media is going to lie about so much.
You literally are talking about a media source, though. You're not talking. This is what bothers me about these people. Are like, oh, fake news, fake news. It's not that they think all news is fake. He's literally talking about a Daily Mail article. He just thinks media that isn't in his right-wing echo chamber is fake. Daily Mail, fine. Fox News, fine. OAN, fine. It's just like MSNBC and CNN. That's not fake news. That's you just not liking the way that certain networks cover certain information. Dr. Gamble, this sounds like denial. This video is very copy, for sure. Again, Trump could win, but this video feels like a cope, considering the polls are where they are at the time. At the time you made this video. Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. If my father were still here, Hannah, he would be super proud of you for living your authentic life. It was what he wanted for everyone to do, so at least one dad wouldn't have been disappointed in you. That's nice.
Then why should I...
Own is pronounced own. Okay, gotcha. I never knew how to pronounce that. I've only seen it written. I haven't heard people talk about own.
I believe their polling is true and correct. You see? I think it was maybe Matt Taibbi or Glenn Greenwald, I'm not sure. I think it was Matt Taibbi said Trump is the most lying president, but the most lied about president. Not a day goes by I don't see some ridiculous lie in the media. Right now there's a story from the Daily Beast that says Trump's camp is sweating, they're going to lose. And I'm just wondering, who are you talking to? It's real. There's an image of Trump with like sweat coming off. And it was like Trump surrogates and Trump seemed to be really nervous. They know they're going to lose. And I'm like, the people who I know who are connected to the Trump campaign are not sweating. In fact, they have a bigger problem. Hubris.
Tim Pool just knows everyone, don't you know? He knows high-ups in the Trump campaign. He knows pop cultural icons. He knows all sorts of celebrities. You know, Tim Pool. Jet-setting Tim Pool, who hangs out at all the Hollywood and Washington, D.C. parties where he rubs elbows with really, really influential people. Why does anyone believe this guy?
Yeah, the people I talk to who
Do I think Tim Pool knew Epstein? No.
There's
Tim
nothing
Pool
funny
could
about
not
the tools of
afford
capitalism.
Epstein prices. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. He knows all of them through his uncle who works at Nintendo.
know and are around the Trump circles are gloating and laughing. We're gonna win, and we know it. Sorry, if they lose, it will be because of hubris, not because they're worried and panicked and sweating, or at the very least, they really do think they're going to win. And maybe it's because of lawsuits, or maybe it's because the polls are wrong. I can't tell you, but they do think so. Trump, there's like one news story where he was walking off stage and he goes, "Let's end this." Trump thinks he's going to win. And Trump
is a narcissist. Of course he thinks he's going to win. Narcissists are incapable of recognizing the possibility that they might fail. Of course he thinks he's going to win. He's also been insulated from, like, every other person that could tell him, hey, just so you know, you're down in the polls. I have a feeling that the internal polling numbers that the GOP has, probably not great for Trump, considering, you know, polls in general haven't been great for him. And they're probably only showing Trump ones like Rasmussen or Trafalgar that are pretty crazy right-leaning polls most of the time. Nathaniel Rakic, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, says, I just want to re-emphasize for people that initial results could be misleading in many states. For example, one of the bluest counties in Florida will dump a bunch of probably very Democratic-leaning mail ballots right after the polls close here at 7 p.m. Eastern. That will make the results in Florida look really good for Biden, but the state will probably undergo a red shift as the election day votes are counted. Yeah, this is going to be a thing. And keep this in mind as you watch the coverage throughout the night, if that's something you're going to be doing. Because of the tremendous amount of mail-in and early voting, there's going to be what's being deemed either a red mirage or a blue mirage, depending on the state in which certain kinds of votes get counted first, and then later as the night goes on, other ones, whether if it's the earlier mail-in getting counted later or earlier, because the demographics are different. Democrats were more likely to do early voting than Republicans. So if one gets counted before the other, it's going to be, the early count is going to be shifting one way or another, and over the night it's going to, which is why it's very dangerous if Donald Trump were to say something like, let's say there's a red mirage going on or something, and he says, oh, I'm winning, shut it down, everyone stop counting votes, which he can't unilaterally do, by the way. He might try to do so, though, because of the kind of person he is. Basically, just be aware we probably won't have definite results until at least tomorrow, maybe later in the week. It's gonna suck, but it is the truth. It can take a while to count all the votes.
Trump wins. I mean, look at his life. But we do have one reason to suggest why the polls may be wrong. Take Nigel Farage, the architect of Brexit. They said Brexit would never happen. For those who aren't familiar, it's when Britain left the European Union. They said it will never happen. No one's going to vote for this. And then they did. And then it got jammed up in Parliament. They were trying to leave the EU, but couldn't get done. And then something wonderful happened for the people of the UK. December 13th, I believe, 2019. The Conservatives won so resoundingly that certain areas that hadn't voted left in nearly 90 years switched to Conservative. Shocking everyone. The polls certainly did.
The right-wing populist movements, both in the United States and the UK, are alarming. And every left-leaning politician, including Biden and Harris and, you know, a myriad of other people, the DNC in general, needs to take note and recognize that this neo-lib, corporatist, centrist policymaking that is not helping working class individuals and has helped create a situation where income inequality is the highest it's been in decades and decades and decades, it's going to cause them to lose support. It just is. Like, you can't do this shit. You can't stop supporting unionization and worker rights and then expect workers to still want to vote for you. Even if you are the lesser of two evils, at a certain point people get numb to that messaging and they just say, you're both evil. I don't care. You're not helping me. Which is why the Democrats need to shift further and further leftward so they can actually help their constituents. Tumak von Raven with 500 bits. To all Americans that make fun of liberals employing female drone pilots, what is a meme for you is a world-created message for countries that depend on U.S. military power and influence. It's funny it's funny internally, but it does make sense to make baby steps in other countries. I guess, but we're generally making fun of the focus on certain aspects of identity politics in, like, over solid policy making. That's what's being made fun of there. Title Bell with 20 bits. How are polls able to suppress turnout? The idea being that, oh, this person's going to lose in a landslide, so why even bother to go out and vote? I don't know how true that ends up being ever. I don't know if there's actually been studies on if that does that, but there are a lot of people who claim it does. The Leftist Owl, thank you for following. Marco Rubio just suggested a blue wave. Let me see. In 2016, Republicans ended with a 0.6 turnout advantage in Florida. Just wait until you see what it is this time. No, he's saying it's going to be a red wave. I mean, the picture's blue, but that's because waves are made of water, which appear blue. Like, I'd be impressed if he could find a gif of red water.
Did not predict it. The polls were off. But the polls did expect conservatives, the Tories in the UK, to win. They just thought that the left would be able to form a coalition and have the majority. Nope, not what happened. The people of the UK said Brexit again 3 years later. So why should I believe the media, and why shouldn't I take the word of Nigel Farage for what he's saying? He planned Brexit, and he won.
Brexit isn't going very well from what I've read, but go on, Tim.
What he's saying now. Mainstream media using polls to suppress Trump turnout. Quote, I think that polling is often used by the establishment as a way of disincentivizing the other side to go out and vote. Mainstream media polls showing Joe Biden with a wide lead are failing to accurately gauge support for Trump and are being used to suppress Trump voter turnout, according to Brexit architect Nigel Farage. Farage, the British politician
Leftist Owl, thanks for subscribing.
Who led an underdog movement to remove the UK from the European Union, said he believes Trump will win despite current polls, just like in 2016. Quote, I think that polling is often used by the establishment as a way of disincentivizing the other side to go out and vote. Farage said on Just the News AM television show. The morning of Brexit, there was a poll released that said Remain in the EU were 10 points ahead. And it was done very simply to say to potential Leave voters, do you know what? If it's raining, don't bother to get down to the local school and vote.
I don't think that was intentional. The idea that that's an intentional fake poll and not just a badly done poll or a poll that wasn't representative of the final results, I think is quite a claim. If you're going to claim that, you need to back that up. You can't just say it and expect people to take it seriously. MMO addicted to 20 bits not going well is mild. It's like saying Trump has a fairly healthy and natural, if slightly tinted complexion.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Do I believe in UFOs? What do you mean? I mean, unidentified flying objects? Sure, unidentified. Do I think that they're alien spaceships? No, I don't. I think aliens probably exist or have existed or will exist somewhere else in the universe. I don't think humans are the only intelligent life that has ever or will ever exist, but I don't necessarily think we'll ever make contact with them because of the distances and time involved, you know. What else? Rock Headsling, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1.
Because you're going to lose anyway. Farage said he was struck
Happy birthday, Leftist Owl.
with American polls because of what he called tiny sample sizes, generating margins of error between 3 to 4%. Come on, you know. Oh, in Florida, Biden's a half a percent ahead. It's ridiculous because the margin of error is several times bigger than that.
Okay, that doesn't mean the margin of error goes both ways, Tim. You can't just say, well, the margin of error. To assume that the margin of error will always go in favor of a Republican completely misses the point of a margin of error. No, that's not what it is. It worked that way in many places in 2016, but that doesn't mean it'll hold true for the models that are happening today in 2020.
He's right. The margin of error is massive in these polls. They had a historical error of 5% in 2016, and they failed to call Florida in 2018, as I mentioned in my previous segment. Within the mainstream media in recent decades.
The reason they bring up Florida from 2018 is because even though the 2016 polls had a pretty big margin of error relative to historical margins of error, in 2018 they were pretty spot on. Florida was an exception, not the rule.
Voter suppression is typically cited by Democrats who say Republicans aim to keep progressive voters from turning out. He said he absolutely believes that polls this year are meant to suppress Republican turnout. I also think that after the year we've been through, and after the hysteria over Black Lives Matter, and the fear that if we even question the Marxist movement, that somehow we're going to be condemned for being racist and put on...
Marxist movement. Hey guys, you know the... Hey, cops, will you please stop shooting me for the color of my skin? Communists! God, I hate this country. Okay, I think we're done with Tim Pool for today. I think we get the gist of Tim's thing. He thinks polls are BS. He thinks that they're intentionally manipulated by the mainstream media in order to reduce Republican turnout with absolutely no evidence to back up that statement. We get it. Tim Pool. Kinda stupid. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Tim Pool intentionally misleading in order to push his points forward. Anyway. What else we got? Hey, if you haven't already, give my YouTube channel a subscription. It's where I put all my past streams and all of my past stream clips. It's a good time. I'm very close to 3,000 subscribers. I'm at like 2.94. I'm like 50 away or so from hitting 3,000. So check it out if you haven't already. Hello, what is up?
Do you need anything?
No, I think I'm alright. Thanks, though.
I just heard you shouting.
Hmm.
You don't want more water?
Yeah, I guess I'd take more. Did I vote? I did vote. I voted earlier today at like 11-ish, 11:30.
Of course she voted. I would have knocked some sense into her if she didn't vote.
Do comments on YouTube videos boost engagement? They do. Comments, upvotes, even downvotes boost engagement on YouTube. Like, if you have something actual to say, even if it's a little vacuous, but don't just, like, spam comments to try and up engagement, because that's not natural engagement, and YouTube will pick up on that. Don't do that.
Thank you, leftist owl.
Love you too. Alright, so we have Sticks and Hammer 666. A Chud we've talked about a couple times before, not super often, but he does have a final video that came out yesterday entitled, "My Final Appeal to Undecided Voters, Vote Trump." So let's see what his arguments are for why undecided voters, and honestly, if it's November 2nd and you're undecided, please go away. Please do not participate in the political system ever again. You clearly don't pay enough attention. Like, I almost... Trump voters I can disagree with, but at least they're engaged enough to have an opinion. It's a bad opinion, it's a misinformed opinion, but at least they think they're engaged in appropriate levels of political discourse, even though they're not. Someone who's an undecided voter the day before the 2020 election, I don't know how they put their pants on in the morning. I genuinely don't know. How do you, like, I guess I haven't been paying attention for the last 4 years. It's time to finally tune in. Oh, the corona what? What happened? Oh, that's bad. Title Bell with 20 bits. I feel like I can understand Trump voters more than undecideds at this point. Yeah. I can understand Trump voters from a place of, like, complete selfishness, or, like, if their motivation is, like, racism or whatever. Undecideds, I just don't understand. The same as the rest of us, one arm at a time. Interesting. Alright, let's see what this guy's got going on.
I don't wanna vote.
You don't have to watch it. If you don't want to. Okay.
I like seeing your beautiful face.
Well, thank you.
Alright everyone, unfortunately there are probably a few of you out there that live in the US and are eligible to vote who haven't decided to actually vote yet. So here's my final appeal to you to vote for Donald Trump. And I think that this is an important election. As we've seen, Trump has already played an outsized role. He's reshaped the Supreme Court. The things that he's done, by and large...
Reshaping the Supreme Court to be an arm of the Republican Party to try and shoot down any progressive legislation that's going to happen over the next 30 years isn't a positive in my book. Sorry.
He has fulfilled the things that he told us he was going to do, which is something we haven't seen from a chief executive in a while. I would give you the following reasons to vote for Trump. Now, number one is taxes, the economy. We could be in the shitter right now. We could be in a legit depression. Instead, because Trump spent 3 years buffing the economy up...
Oh my god. Guys, unemployment might be at record highs. It might be disastrous. And the stock market continues to rise despite the fact that people are out of work and can't pay their bills. And rich people enriched themselves during the coronavirus to the tune of billions of dollars. But, like, don't even worry about it, man. Trump maybe crashed the economy by mishandling a pandemic response, but can you imagine how much worse it would have been if he fucked up even sooner? That's not as compelling of an argument as you might think. Windchanter with 20 bits, it would really help me calm down if I could hear Hannah say, "Snoochie Boochies." Am I Jay from Jay and Silent Bob now?
We only slid into a recession despite the fact that the entire U.S. economy was brought to a screeching halt for an entire month. If this had happened...
Towing24 with 20 bits, obviously this guy is ignoring the massive socialism Trump did to bail out farmers because of his stupid effing trade war. Yeah.
Under a Biden presidency, we'd probably still be locked down now, number one, and we'd be eating nothing but cabbages and potatoes, and would be glad to have them.
Or, lockdowns would have been handled appropriately, mask mandates would have happened much sooner, we would have had a quicker, better coronavirus response, and everything would be back to normal already. Now, we might have had to have second waves of things, of lockdowns, whatever, like some of Europe is having, but nonetheless, many of those places have it relatively under control, relative to what's happening in the U.S. The U.S. has a massive COVID death toll relative to the rest of the world. Like, and I'm just gonna say this, I do not give a shit about the economy if it means hundreds of thousands of people are going to die unnecessarily. I do not give a fuck about some Wall Street banker getting billions of dollars richer for their company if people are going to die as a result. I don't care. I don't. And people who do sicken me. What is wrong with you people? You've completely lost the plot on what's important in your life if you think rich people getting richer is somehow more important than the lives of other people. Devious Chillster with 20 bits. Biden is not president yet. Oh my god, the whataboutism isn't even about real things that happened anymore. Trump did, but what if Mussolini was president? I wish to dip myself slowly into lava in Minecraft until I can embrace that sweet, sweet game over screen.
You would see red lines. It's very interesting to see the party that wants to waste $10 trillion on their...
Windchanter. No, you're Silent Bob, but he doesn't say much. Jake would be Jay. Okay.
Green New Deal nonsense. Claim that Trump has actually harmed the...
Grey Dutch, thank you for subscribing. 6-month streak. Grey Dutch says, in other news, most people can easily grow at least some of their own food, even on a small balcony or small plot. It's better for the earth and a wonderful and therapeutic skill. This has been a PSA by your local friendly environmentalist. Thank you.
Economy. The economy would be dead right now if it weren't for the fact that Trump was the...
The economy is super effed right now. Please do not look at the stock market line and go, oh, the economy's doing good. It's not. The economy is not doing good. We're going to continually face the repercussions of the completely botched coronavirus response up into next year and the year after, we're going to go into a recession. It's going to be real bad. We're going to go into shit we haven't seen in a long time. Trump is continually trying to avoid this because of the election, and he's pumping a bunch of money through the Fed into the economy to try and stabilize things, but that's not necessarily sustainable forever. I have a feeling that what's going to happen is if Biden wins, he's going to get into office. Some policy changes are going to happen, and at some point, the bubble that we're in regard to the stock market is going to collapse. It's going to piss a bunch of people off. At that point, all of a sudden, because the stock market crashed, even though already normal people were hurting, at that point, oh, now the media is going to give a shit about the economy because a bunch of rich people lost theoretical value in the companies they hold. Uh-oh, now all of a sudden we're in another situation like 2008 where they're going to blame Obama for the recession, even though it was the result of the Bush administration's poor fiscal policies. And the same thing's going to happen here with Trump and Biden if Biden wins. It's going to be a nightmare, folks. We're in a time loop, and we can't break out. We're like Bill Murray. I got to find a groundhog and drive off a cliff with it. Ah!
President. My worry is that if coronavirus drags on through the next year, which it probably will, and Trump is not the president, that we will have greater economic problems. That's number one. And then the tax cuts. 2/3 of Americans got a tax cut under Donald Trump.
Which expires at the end of the year. Did y'all know that? The Trump tax cuts expired at the end of 2020. So people are gonna, like, let's say Trump doesn't win. Those tax cuts expire. They're gonna get their taxes, whatever, in the next year, and they're gonna go, oh, my taxes raised again. That must be Joe Biden's fault, which is a clear thing that they did intentionally to try and sabotage the next president if they were going to be Democrats. However, the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy, those have no expiration date. It was basically a free giveaway to the wealthy, and then in order to distract the peons, they're like, okay, you can have 4 years of tax cuts. But after that, F you. So it's going to be a nightmare because no one pays attention. Devious Chilster with 20 bits. COVID will drag on because Trump is president, you sentient incarnation of whatever sin Jesus could not cleanse. Ooh, that's a good one.
Most of the middle and working class, that helped things. When you pay less taxes, people had a little bit more money. They were able to weather the lockdown a little bit more. It's not perfect, but we survived.
Or how about this? We actually tax the wealthy and corporations appropriately, and then if we get into a situation like COVID where we need to be giving relief to actual workers, then we have the money in the bank that we can say, hey, people paid a bunch of taxes appropriately, and now there's an emergency for the country. Should we be giving people regular stimulus checks to ensure that the economy doesn't crash and make sure they go to the bottom and then find their way to the top, because that's how the economy actually functions? You give money to people at the bottom and then they spend it on their bills and their groceries and stuff, and then those companies have money instead of straight up just sending that money directly to the corporation that's going to enrich themselves and not help the people who actually need the money at the bottom of the pyramid. Ah, frustrating.
As a country, we didn't collapse.
Funny about the tools
Number
of
2.
Capitalism.
Cascadia 93, $1,200 once. One time 7 months ago. Yup.
Trump hasn't started a new war. That's interesting, especially for a Republican, historically speaking. It's been a while since...
If the best thing you can say about your candidate, or one of the best things, is, guys, he didn't start a war... Maybe there aren't a lot of good things to say about your candidate. And by the way, Trump tried his darndest. Pulled out of the Iran deal, assassinated a leader, bombed an airstrip. Like, Trump is doing his darndest, guys. Come on. Devious Chilster with 20 bits, he almost sounded disappointed. Xenon Exemer subscribed. Thank you for the 3 months. The Ender 92 with 20 bits. How are the religious people the most greedy? Doesn't their book hate that? Again, I tell you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. Christians don't read the Bible. Why would you assume they do?
Since we've had a chief executive who didn't constantly beat on the drums of war anyway. Even Obama was a bit of a warmonger. He was just more quiet about it than George.
Obama didn't start any new wars. As much as a lot of presidents, he participated in them, and I disagree with a lot of the things Obama did in regard to, like, continuing drone strikes. It doesn't change the fact that Trump does that shit too, and he's done it at a higher rate. Like, come on, guy, you can't be this dishonest. Lonesome Troll with 20 bits. As the word of the vice presidential candidate Kanye West, buy land with the money the government has given you. He did not say that. You know what? I believe you. I'd believe if you said Kanye said almost anything, I'd probably believe that. That dude needs some better. He needs some medication.
W and Herbert Walker were. Clinton invaded Yugoslavia, or former Yugoslav state, rather. I'm forgetting my recent history, my late Cold War history. Going into Serbia over the coast.
I was gonna say that was a while ago. That's not that recent in terms of recent history. That's a little over 20 years ago.
Kosovo crisis, getting involved there. Ronald Reagan was not exactly a peacenik. Peace through strength, okay, it kind of works, but the Iran-Contras existed, among other groups. Grenada, I believe, at the time.
How long am I planning on streaming? I don't know. Maybe another hour.
Big problems. No new wars under Trump. By the way, not entirely even necessarily expected by a lot of people, certainly not by anti-Trump fans. They'll go, oh my god, Trump's going to start World War III. Didn't happen. So
again, pulling out of the Iran deal, assassinating an Iranian leader, bombing was he bombing a Syrian airstrip? Sorry, it's been a while, guys. It's been a long year. The pulling out of the Iran deal, the assassinating of the political leader, who I'm forgetting. It's been a long year. Again, I apologize. And the bombing of the airstrip, which I think was in Syria. Not cool. Not cool moves, Donnie.
Economy, war, number...
Razor with 500 bits. This guy seems like the guy who thinks Warhammer 40k lore is great government policy rather than satire.
Number 3, think of who his opponent is. I hate to say it, but one of the main qualifying features of Trump is we know how he'll govern. We've seen how he's governed over the last 4 years, and the election is primarily a referendum on whether you think he's done a good job or not. I personally think that he did. I think his opponent is out to lunch. I think his opponent legitimately has cognitive issues. I think that we've seen enough evidence at this point of that, and we've got to...
The Biden dementia meme, I'm so glad it fell super flat this election. They kept trying, but try as they might, and again, I have a lot of problems with Joe Biden. The dude doesn't have dementia. He has a speech impediment. Like, if you're harping on Biden for a speech impediment that he's had his entire life and still struggles with, and your only comment on it is, oh, he's got dementia, you're an asshole. You're just an asshole. There are so many things to criticize Biden for. Criticizing him for a speech impediment is disgusting. Mitchell Drummer, 85 bits. Snipe and Devious Chillster with 20 bits. God, I hate this so much. That Biden dementia meme is so ableist. Yeah.
And his opponent is almost 78 years old.
Corn Pop was a bad dude. True.
To the Democrats, I would say, here's an appeal to you of why you should vote for Trump, or at the very least sit it out or vote third party. If you elect Joe Biden, you will not have a President Joe Biden. Not for very long, anyway. The man is not well. He will probably not serve a full first term. You will essentially be coronating the first female president outside of a popular vote.
Okay, that's fine. That's how vice presidents work. Do you know that? You elect a president with the knowledge that their running mate will be the president if the president dies. Everyone knows how that works. That's okay. I would prefer President Kamala Harris over President Donald Trump or Mike Pence. We know how vice presidents work. It's in the name.
A non-incumbent who will then have to face an energized Republican Party and the very real likelihood of a red wave in the subsequent midterms as a referendum on Joe Biden, who is likely to do things that are divisive. One of his latest posts on Twitter is talking about how he wants to ban assault weapons. That would be a highly divisive issue, and Republicans, in an outsized manner, already tend to come out in larger numbers during the midterms.
Wasn't true in 2018, so we'll see what happens in 2022. Lonesome Troll with 20 bits is a person who has 2 people die due to dementia and almost definitely will suffer if I live long enough. I find them sickening and frustrating. Yeah.
That's why the Senate went more red in the last election, despite the fact that Trump at the time, during the last midterms, was at an all-time low in polling approval. But the Republicans still gained 2 extra Senate seats. One of them being a rhino with Mitt Romney, but they gained it anyway.
I want to go back in time to 2012 and show this clip to someone and have them hear this jackass say Mitt Romney, Republican presidential candidate, is a rhino. The last 4 or 5 years have fried everyone's brains, and we're never gonna be functional again.
Anyway, of course, Murkowski and Collins at the end of the day are basically in the same boat. But then the Republicans kind of have Joe Manchin, so it's still a 50-50. It's a very odd Senate structure at the moment. I would say this: the Democratic Party will lose the subsequent election if Biden is elected, because either...
What's a rhino? A rhino is a Republican in name only. It's basically a way for Republicans to criticize other Republicans that don't necessarily always toe the party line, or if they think they're not right-wing enough, they'll call them a rhino.
Biden will be crazy.
Jobinator, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Jubinator with that says, as Americans, we need to take a serious Trump dump.
Enough to run again as an 82-year-old man, which I can't imagine the population will find palatable, even if he does a reasonably good job, which I would doubt. Or you have a non-incumbent former VP who's been president only because the former president resigned or had an aneurysm or something. A technical non-incumbent, after probably a red wave, obstructs government, throttles things for at least the last 2 years of his term, and there's no guarantee that the Democrats gain the Senate in this election. If you have a one-seat Republican majority in the Senate, which is roughly the likelihood at the moment, what's Biden going to do during his presidency? He's not going to accomplish anything. The Republicans are great at obstructing things and then blaming other people for obstruction.
Imagine saying that and not recognizing that your party is evil. Imagine saying that about the party you are advocating for and not having a second and go, wait a minute. Are we the bad guys?
That's what led to the Tea Party, remember, in 2010. My final appeal to people is to vote for Trump, including Democrats. If you value the Democratic Party's soul or energy or whatever you'd call it, it's status quo, you have to reject Joe Biden.
Chief Tony with 20 bits just got back from voting. The line was really long, and I live in a very red state, which Trump will win, but dang it, had to try. Well, thank you for going to vote. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
He was essentially forced on the party anyway because of a lack of other people that were qualified to actually run, just based on his name recognition. You nominated a dude who's almost 80 years old, and clearly...
Guys, I've said I'm a broken record on this. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are almost the exact same age. Joe Biden, I think, is 3 years older, which when you're in your, 70s, 3 years is not a difference at all. At that point, you're looking at, health factors, more so than you're looking at the literal birth date on which they were born. Trump is a much less healthy 70-something-year-old than Joe Biden is. If we looked at both of them and had legitimately neutral doctors give them both checkups, Joe Biden would come out of that looking better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an unhealthy guy. I don't understand. I don't understand this right-wing criticism of Biden as being old. They're both too old. I agree. But to single out one as being old and not the other is just hypocrisy, no matter who does it. I would say the same thing if someone was like, Trump is too old, vote for Biden. I'd be like, well, they're both too old. They're both too old. They're both too old. But it doesn't change the fact that those are our options right now. So you vote for one of them.
Clearly has at least verbal problems, if not actual cognitive decline. Just think about how weak that means the other people were. Elizabeth Warren didn't even... She came in third in her own home state in the Democratic primaries. Michael Bloomberg was barely a blip on the radar, despite dumping, $100 million into his primary run?
Yeah, because people hated Michael Bloomberg and don't like the idea of her... As it turns out, even liberals, people on the left, don't like the idea of some rich billionaire asshole trying to pay his way into an election like Donald Trump did. For some reason, people on the right ate that shit up, though. Weird.
Now, of course, he said he's going to dump his funny money into the campaign. He spent $100 million in Florida, and yet Trump is 2 points ahead. Do you think maybe the Democratic Party has some problems that it needs to address before it can reasonably go forth and lead? Do you think that the dysfunctionality of the Democratic Party today means that the Democrats under Biden are actually going to be able to lead the country in a coherent manner? I don't think so. Trump has shown leadership. Whether you like it or not, the wall's been built, by and large, behind schedule because of funding concerns.
No, it hasn't.
Because it took him 2 years to clear the funding hurdles that he had when his own Senate obstructed him. But it's gone up. Some of you, if you're more liberal, you probably don't like that fact, but
There's
it's
nothing
there.
funny about the tools
You got
of
tax
capitalism.
relief. You got VA reform.
Ender92 with 20 bits, I just thought of this. Do you think right-wingers subconsciously feel like Trump is younger because Melania is younger and they have a vacuous, squishy, smooth brains? No, I don't. I just don't think they think about it. I don't think Melania is part of it at all.
You got the non-signing of the TPP. I'm struggling to think of actually major campaign promises that he made that he didn't fulfill. For better or for worse, Trump, in my opinion, has done a reasonably good job. Now, reasonably good 6 out of 10 presidency may not be so glitz and glamour, but it's the first time we've had a president since first-term Ronald Reagan who was capable of making an independent decision and not screwing up.
I talked about this earlier in the stream, and I gotta reiterate it here. The different alternate realities that these people live in. I have no conceivable idea how you start to bridge that gap. Because they just live in an alternate universe. They live in an alternate universe where events happen completely differently than what they happen in real life. It is... I'm taken aback and made breathless by it sometimes. Misunderstand, I'm getting an aneurysm listening to Skinny Hagrid.
If any of the other presidents since then had been independent, then they were screwballs, and I consider them all to be controlled opposition. Obama never fulfilled the things that he said. He never closed Gitmo or anything. Herbert Walker...
Okay, but the Affordable Care Act still passed. It was healthcare reform. Incredibly flawed healthcare reform. Excuse me.
There's nothing funny
Sorry,
about the tools
incredibly
of
flawed
capitalism.
healthcare reform handicapped by the healthcare industry that still needs work, and we need a public option, and then we need to work on, Medicare for all. If we could get right to Medicare for all, that would be great, but I feel like it's going to be a step-by-step process where we'll start with a public option, and then we'll, get there eventually. But that happened. Obama did all sorts of shit, dude. Like, that was like his main campaign promise was healthcare reforms, and he came through with it in the first 2 years of his presidency. Like, you can't just harp on the one thing Obama, and I know there were multiple things Obama didn't do. Plenty of criticisms of Obama. But to point at Gitmo and then say it's indicative of every other thing Obama said he was going to do is disingenuous at best. Why is Reagan so revered on the right?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Like Donald Trump, he had very positive things to say about the United States. And I don't think it makes sense for the president of a country to have positive things. But when I say that, I don't mean in a realistic positive way. Like Obama said, tons of positive things about the United States. But it was also tempered with the realistic understanding that we are a individual country on the planet with our own faults. And that doesn't jive well with conservatives. They don't like the idea of doing anything but holding up America as the best country in the history of the world that has ever existed, and if you say it has any flaws, then you're a communist. Ronald Reagan was another person, like Trump, who would just go around being like, America's the best, America's the best, there's nothing wrong with America. If you say there's something wrong with America, there's something wrong with you. We are a shining city on a hill. Oh, by the way, there's an AIDS crisis happening, but fuck them because they're gay. Like, that was Donald Trump's presidency. Also, a little bit of light treason with the Iran-Contra thing, but what's a little treason, between friends? Anyway. Tucker White 94, at least Reagan governed like an actual statesman. Trump doesn't even do that. I wouldn't give Reagan that much credit. 3 minutes ago, he praised the GOP Congress for obstructing shit, and now he's complaining about Obama getting nothing done. Yeah, I know. That's what people on the right do. You gotta move those goalposts. Whatever argument makes sense in the sentence you are currently saying is the one that makes sense. It's not about having principles, it's about having talking points. Chart showing percentages of promises fulfilled by Trump. Okay. Reagan also helped the Contras bring crack to America. There's a lot of interesting Reagan stuff if you look it up ever. It's pretty interesting. Trump-o-meter. 49% of 50 promises broken, 5% stalled, 20% compromise, and 24% promises kept. Okay. Create a healthcare savings account? No. Scaled back the EPA, which is a promise, but it's a shit one. Open up libel laws. I think that's a stalled. Invest $550 billion in infrastructure and create an infrastructure fund. No, he did that. Yeah. Frustrating, to say the least.
There's nothing
Walker
funny
raised
about the tools
taxes.
of capitalism.
Cascadia93 from the ACLU's Twitter feed. Your home state has registered over 18,000 new voters today. Nice.
Bill Clinton was screwing around in the Oval Office on a constant basis with constant issues, and George W. was George W. Need I say more? 4 presidencies in a row that arguably were, at most a 3 out of 10 with Bill Clinton, and that seemed great by comparison to the people that came before and after. Bill Clinton, of recent presidents other than Trump, Bill Clinton is the only one that comes to mind that even tried to do a good job. Hell, half of the...
What? Who puts Clinton above Obama in terms of, like, Democratic presidents? That's so bizarre to me.
The reason that happened is because there was a boom time in the 90s that had nothing to do with any policies he himself
There's nothing
passed.
funny about the tools
And
of
he still
capitalism.
screwed up all the time.
Tucker White 94, first batch of projections. CNN calls Indiana for Trump and Fox News calls Virginia for Biden. It's so quick, guys. Come on, let's not do calling yet. I don't think it's gonna... We can take a look in for a little bit, but I'm only going for another hour or so. Let's see as they come in. Do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
It's almost caused World War III there. Wasn't it that crazy anti-Trump general there, I can't remember his name, almost caused World War III over there because he ordered his men to invade an airport held by the Russians at the time when they were fucking around over in Kosovo. And of course the lower commander said no. Almost got court-martialed for it, I think, but probably saved us from World War III. Interesting how that happened. Bet you didn't know that part of the Clinton presidency. Or the Waco invasion. Look at Janet Reno's record
People know about Waco. What the fuck are you talking about?
if you want to know about him. Anyway, the other reason is it's great to have a president who's actually legit entertaining. A Biden presidency would be so boring, except that...
I want the president to be boring. What is wrong with the president is supposed to be boring. The presidency and governing in general is supposed to be boring. You know why? A lot of governing is just keeping the lights on. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. I think there's tons of stuff that needs to be done in regard to, like, healthcare, Green New Deal, whatever stuff. But those are few and far between. Most days you're just keeping the lights on and you're doing procedural bullshit. I do not want a president who's a reality TV star who's entertaining. I would like a president who's competent at their job. That's what I'm looking for.
When he comes out and does a Gerald Ford and says something stupid, it's worth a quick chuckle. But you're not going to get the kind of online drama and personal insults and stuff that we've grown accustomed to. Honestly, even if Trump wins a second term, the nation is going to have such a hangover after 4 or 8 years of Trump. It's going to be some weird times. But I'd like to kick the can down the road 4 more years. So I say 4 more years of Trump. I support him. I'll be streaming on election. I'm going to make it clear to everyone, oh, if you haven't voted, you got another 30 minutes. Get to the fucking polling place. It is an important election. Trump is not the bigot, not the fanatic, not...
He is. He is those things, though.
Not the insane man that he's cast off as by, well, a bunch of billionaire multinationalists that control...
Trump is also that! You cannot in the same breath say, the people who criticize Trump are just a bunch of multinational billionaires. My brain short circuits. Like I'm a computer that's just been told, like, this statement is false. No, 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 no. You can't do that. He's also a billionaire. An international billionaire. What do you think he is? Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Is Styx's argument literally vote for Trump so we can have 4 more years of batshittery? Seems like it.
Control the entire corporate legacy media apparatus and have deep pockets and their hands down the pants of most of the legislature. Trump's not that man. Look at his record. Actions speak louder than words. I don't care if he insults people on Twitter. Actually, it's kind of endearing. That's about all. Peace out.
Indigown Sightly, thank you for following. Okay, so that's Styx. That was a really bad video, even by Chud standards. See what's happening in the 538 election updates. Looks like Republicans will wind up with a net 2% on party registrations in Florida. That's not terrible for them. And they reversed a slight Democratic disadvantage based on early absentee voting, but it's also not great. Based on the partisan splits in recent polls in Florida, I estimated that because Biden is doing better among independents in the poll, that the state, in most polls of the state, and gets somewhat more crossover voters, the break-even point for Trump's win was about an R plus 3.5 in Florida. That is, if Republicans led in turnout by 3.5 points or more, Trump would be the favorite to win. Otherwise, Biden would be. We'll probably end up just to the Biden side of the line. With that said, there's a lot of uncertainty. Some polls in Florida showed Biden with big leads among independents in Florida, while others he was running evenly with Trump. It'll be interesting to see. Florida. Jesus Christ. What else do we want to watch? I don't know if I want to watch Ben Shapiro.
There's nothing funny about
Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. He has made your country a laughingstock, the entire world, and dude finds it endearing. OMG, I know, it's frustrating.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Party time? I don't know about that. Indiana. So yeah, they called, I guess CNN called Indiana for Trump, which was expected. Trump was polling really, really high there. Plus 11, plus 8, plus 7, plus 10. That's expected. Maybe we're done with Chuds for today. Maybe we'll watch some more fun stuff. I don't know.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
You're so ashamed with your state? Yeah, it's okay. Did y'all figure out who God was? Oh, for the D&D thing? We have a list of potential suspects, but we don't know for sure.
Hello, Eileen. This is Jean. I just had a letter from my brother, and guess what? He's bringing his roommate home from college.
Look at that hunk.
Mother said we can have a party for him, so I was wondering if you could come over tonight and help me plan it. Yes, Nora's coming too. This is one party that just has to turn out right.
Well, the purpose of a party is to have fun together. And a successful party needs planning and skill. Whether it's a special carnival designed for gay entertainment, or a game party in a home, a birthday party, a holiday party, they all take planning, and they should all be fun. Now, the party Jean, Nora, and Eileen are planning. What of its purpose?
The main idea is to introduce Steve to the gang and show him a wonderful time. Yeah.
Don't forget about Sig's drug cookies. I mean, I know about them.
Show everyone a nice time.
Right. Now listen, this is what we have to plan. A guest list, invitations, refreshments, and entertainment. Now, a guest list. Who will we ask? There'll be the three of us on our dates, and I suppose we could have an extra couple And 2 extra girls for Jim and
Why does a 30-year-old woman need her mother's permission to throw a party? Oh, wait, they're supposed to be 17.
Steve. Now, who do you think, Nora?
Well, let's have Alice and Ted come. They're nice, and they're usually in our gang. Margie's lots of fun. The fellows would like her.
That's right, Eileen. And let's ask Dot. We certainly had a wonderful time at her party last month.
Oh, I'll say.
We all enjoy being together, but is anyone left out?
I don't think so.
Well, that's our guest list. Now, invitations. Should we write? Dear Alice, would you like to come to a party at my house Saturday, March 24th at 8 p.m. and so on?
Why bother to write? This is just an informal party. Let's just phone everyone. Sure.
Good, we'll phone tomorrow. Next business.
Why did you cross off invitations before you did it? That's just confusing. You don't cross off a task when you start it. You do it when it's done.
Refreshments.
We have to feed the men.
And the girls, too. Especially you.
There's
Gee,
nothing funny
thanks.
about the
Does it
tools of
show?
capitalism.
It's so poorly acted, it's not even endearing. I know, I'm thinking about bailing on this video. I'm not very entertained.
Well, we want something to eat and something to drink. Refreshment. How about hot chocolate and sandwiches? I'll fix the sandwiches.
Well, thanks, Eileen. Suppose I talk it over with Mother and get her suggestions.
All right.
All right, now next
Okay,
is
I'm
entertainment.
bailing. I'm bailing. Okay. I think I'm probably done for the night, guys. I need to go into my cocoon now and avoid all political information lest I die. So it's so poorly acted, it's not even endearing. Yeah. So everyone, we're gonna raid. Who are we gonna raid? Probably the serfs.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
I'm sure Lance is doing in-depth election coverage, which will be good. So here's my final word, everyone. Jake will be on later too. Yeah. So check out Jake. If you got a cleanse, post it. I'm not gonna watch it though. I'm done. Here's my final word though. Tonight's could be rough. It could be good, and maybe tomorrow we'll have things to celebrate together. Maybe we won't, and we'll have collective disappointment and fear to deal with. Regardless of what happens, we will get up tomorrow, and we will continue to live our lives, and we will come up with ways to continue to advocate for the positive changes in the world that we would like to see enacted. Regardless of what happens tonight, understand all of you are valid. All of you are wonderful people. You're what makes this community work. I love you all. I wouldn't be able to do this without all of you, and we are all in this together, regardless of what happens tonight, okay? I remember 2016, it was rough. If tonight's rough too, just know we're all going through it together, and we'll be okay. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a good night. I hope we all do. See you guys tomorrow for Tinfoil Tuesday on a Wednesday.